Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the new and improved Conversation Podcast. Whether you're joining for the first time or you're a return listener, we're thrilled to have you on board for another exciting adventure. Welcome to episode 201 of Weebs Lounge. Yes, a show where we talk about anime, manga, gaming shows, movies, and the weeb culture through honest conversation, debates, and chaotic energy. For this week, we got a Stranger Things series discussion. So let's enter the Upside Down universe and see how Hawkins still survives another year with only one superpower girl. But let's see where that goes. Now, share this episode, bring your friends, and let's make this episode unforgettable, all powered by AniMa W3 Studio. Catch every new episode every week on YouTube, audio feed, where we listen to, and time codes are in the description. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Legendary Vash, where it's always about love and peace and surviving Hawkins. Because somehow you gotta make it out there in the next couple years if there's a crack in the middle of town and you're questioning like, yo, is our town cursed or we're just fucked? Because if that was me, I would be moving out like everyone did at the end of season 4, episode 8. Get the fuck out of that town and survive. But I'm not alone. I'm here entering the Upside Down universe with the two people that got me into the show. So Watkins, my world champion, talk to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and ignorant children of the Isles, what is up and what is good? It is your reigning, defending, undisputed, universal heavyweight champion of the world. That's right, it's Watkins here. I'm going to be your guide through the topsy-turvy turns and twists that is the 80s. But of course, we're going to be here talking about Stranger Things. Some of us have rewatched the series, and one of us has gone through it for the first time. So we're going to be talking about everything, theorizing about everything. So, hey, be sure to check out all of our shows coming up, some of our short form stuff as Stranger Things starts dropping soon. And of course, the person that's going to drop all this knowledge on us is our other co-host tonight. Tell them the people who you are.
So just in case you guys saw me online, because I have been making videos on King Steve, be sure to check that out when it comes to the character development video from season 1 to 4. I happen to be called Drop This Box. I like dropping boxes. I like making videos on boxes. And I also like talking about all the things that I love. And like Vash said earlier in the beginning of the video, we're going to be talking about Stranger Things, which is my favorite series when it comes to TV shows. And it's going to be super exciting, rekindling that love with Watkins, as well as, talking to Vash about it for the very first time when it comes to him expressing his overall thoughts when it comes to his journey that he experienced with it ever since we started that journey with him this year.
He does bring a good point that I was never, not saying supposed to, even brought a tweet that I made from like 4 or 5 years ago that a certain Star Wars series was better than Stranger Things at the time. That is a crazy remark. Even at that time, I have made a comment about, you know what, I'm gonna say it. I even said Obi-Wan Kenobi season 1 was better than Stranger Things at the time.
How
even
dare you?
clueless, even being clueless that I haven't even seen Stranger Things at the time.
How dare you say that Kenobi was better than anything? How dare you? How dare
big
you?
shout
You
out
know
to-
how I feel about that. How dare you? I'm about to come up there to New York and do naughty things to your lawn.
Yeah, and it's not
Also,
a good thing for
apologies.
Paul,
Yeah. And also apologies, chat and comments or whoever's watching right now. I have to give Sydney her lovely monthly medication. So if you see me leaning forward, that might be a little bit why. But hey, we're not here to talk about dogs getting treats. We're here to talk about some demi-dogs and some demi-bats and some demi-gorgons and some Vecna
That's a crazy
and other
transition.
like D&D other D&D craziness that happens in this
The
show.
Mind Flyer.
I'm not going to lie. Oh my god, dude! Not gonna lie, rewatching the show has
been a
kind of
blast.
made me want to play D&D again. So there's also that. But maybe one day in the future, Chad, if you guys want any of that content. So yeah, Vash. How do you want to start everything off with this?
Well, I would like for us to have some little icebreaker. Right before we get into a big discussion the next hour and 45 minutes or so, I want to first get into one. We are Weebs Lounge. This is the show to our conversational podcast to talk about anything, like I said in the intro of the show, where we talk about anime, manga, any topics, any news of the word that's going on in the big news buzz centers, what we call from, Big News Morgan. If you have watched One Piece, big news is why that show has a reference of. So if you like One Piece, we talk about that. There will be some One Piece conversation starting in January from me walking, maybe a roundtable or a Shona Ronin. Either or, it will be discussed. But for this podcast, we're talking about Stranger Things because I got into the show this year, starting in August. Season 1 in August, Season 2 in September, Season 3 in October, and then Season 4 in November. And I finished that in 2 weeks because, hey, we want to cover it. And then we have Season 5 coming out in Volume 1, Thanksgiving, Volume 2, Christmas, Volume 3, fucking New Year's. So that's a crazy type of release schedule. And as well, at the same time that we're doing the podcast recording wise, we're also live on TikTok. So appreciate for anybody that's tuning in. If you have any questions about Stranger Things, you have any theories, we'd love to hear your conversation, your thoughts on the theories of Stranger Things that's coming out. So we'd love to hear them. This is a full spoiler conversation, so if you have not been watching, I appreciate for anybody tuning in, but hey, don't get spoiled, because that's the reason why I chose to literally watch it, because I knew this big show is coming out and it's gonna have an end, and I don't want to be spoiled. Just like Game of Thrones and other things, I was not there during that journey, so I didn't binge it. But for Stranger Things, this big, and how it has this type of release schedule, where each episode is almost having a 2 hour, I'm like, nah, I got to do this binge. And I'm glad I took my time. And big shout out to Drop to always be on time with the schedule with, hey, the month is about to be out, my G. We're like 6 episodes behind. I think this was in September or October. Like, hey, we're like 6 episodes. We got to put some time in, put like an episode a day or something. And I'm like, shit, you right.
It was like, you better lock in.
Yeah, you got to lock in.
You better lock in for the schedule, buddy, because especially with Season 4.
That was a treat. A big shout out to our friend and team member Neko-chan, who is part of Optimus. She was supposed to join us, but life happens, can't deal with it. However, we're here. A big shout out to Neko. We wish you was here. We will have her for volume 1, 2, and 3 coverage, so don't worry. Those will not be podcast episodes. Those will be just one shots, just literally us coming and meeting and having a conversation. No promises on what is being released, what day, since it come out Wednesday on a Thanksgiving. So we'll probably be meeting up that Friday or Saturday, because we will do Survivor Series. So quick plug on that. We do Weebs of the Ring. If you like wrestling content, go check that out if you guys like your little pro wrestling. But without all those plugs, without that conversation, Watkins, I want to ask you, should we still do Otaku Parlor, or should we just transition into the big conversation of Stranger Things?
I mean, honestly, the only thing really I could just save that for like the end with an outro thing, because I'll just want to make an announcement with things, so okay. I'll just save that for an outro. Yeah, for those that don't know, our Otaku Parlor is where we usually use that as a conversation on what media we've been consuming, where we would be talking to Drop, anything that we've been consuming this past week, anime, My Hero, the final season, many other type of media that has come out this past week. However, by the way, a big shout out, go watch the movie Now You See Me, Now You Don't. They finally used the fucking damn title as their title. That was such an easy one to use, like Now You See Me, Now You Don't. But it sucks that on a 90 million budget, they only made a good 75 on opening weekend. That sucks to hear, but hey, maybe at the end of the day it's an illusion, and you will be able to watch the next coming weeks. That's all I'm saying. But maybe, like this show is, and I want to give it to Watkins to start us off, because Stranger Things. Let's get into our main topic, because we're gonna also briefly talk about season 1 through 4. So if you guys do have a bit of conversation about season 1 through 4, we're gonna sprinkle it in a bit into the conversation, since we haven't had the chance to talk about it throughout the years. So we're gonna quickly have a small discussion, then jump into season 5. So if you guys have any conversation for us, let us know. But Watkins, talk to us. Stranger Things. So this is a show that I really liked when it dropped. What was it, like 2016?
2017
dropped. Oh, okay. Well, either way, I was okay. I think season 2 was 2017, because they were fairly like close to each other. But yeah, I mean, much like Drop, I think we both kind of watched it when it came out, and yeah, I immediately got hooked to it because I mean, this is about some kids who are nerds. I am a nerd. Along with these other two guys, and you know, it taking place in the 80s. It was very well grounded in the first two seasons. Even season 3 was kind of grounded as well. Season 4 gets a little, you know, bat poo crazy, but you know, it's fine, as you know, as long as you can kind of suspend your disbelief with a lot of things. But yeah, I mean, this is one of my top series. I really like how each character is written. Whether you like the characters or not, you know, that's all subjective as well. But yeah, it's just crazy that like a series like this exists, to where that we could basically watch these kids, because they all were kids at one point during this show, and it's just crazy to see just their growth, not only physically but just mentally and as actors as well. Just their growth overall as people, like through this show. Like you see that through like 11, through Will, through especially Mike, because he gets very lanky.
Yeah, he gets tall and very
each
bony
season.
jaw. Like if you see him currently in the current press stuff, you see that like jawline. I'm like, all right, Mikey, you got very scrawny.
Oh yeah, but I mean that's just a quick little thing about me with Stranger Things. I mean, it was always weird. I think the biggest shock, or at least like initial shock for like their growth, was between seasons 3 and 4, because yeah, there was a little bit of growth with them, with like the kids and all that, between seasons 2 and 3, but the growth between 3 and 4, you're just like, okay, are you sure you're a high schooler? Like, are you sure you're like a freshman? Okay, all right, cool. Well, let's just go with that and all that. But yeah, I mean, overall, this is still like one of my favorite series going, about to end too. But that's my quick little thing about Stranger Things.
Drop, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because you are one of the people that was pushed me onto it back when we first tried to watch it back in the start of the pandemic, and we tried to watch season 1. We got into like 2 episodes. Sucks that I didn't get that 3 or 4 to, you know, be locked in and then be ready for season 4. But hey, good thing I did it, because I didn't have to wait. I only waited 4 months, or technically not that finished. Only had to wait 2 weeks. So hey, it worked out on my end. But Drop, talk to me.
Yeah, so when it comes to me and Stranger Things, I knew about the series prior, but I actually didn't get into it like right when it initially started, because it was just one of those things that happened to pop up on its own. And I was like, okay, I got to see if there's anything out there for me to watch outside of like, you know, the things that I typically consume. So I remember one time, because I didn't have Netflix at the time, so I ended up just watching, you know, the first season. I found it somewhere. I watched it there. And then I ended up watching the second season. And then from that point on, moving forward, you know, I was there when season 3 hit. I was there when season 4 hit. So this was probably like in 2018, I would say, or maybe late 2017, where I got into everything. So it's like, once I fully, you know, dived into Stranger Things and I was experiencing everything when it comes to the show, when it comes to the characters, seizing how things were in the beginning, because one of the things about me is like, I really like anything that has to do with the 80s, and this show captures the 80s aesthetic very well. They keep it very consistent. You don't see any cell phones in the background. Like, they make sure that there's like whatever was around at that time period, they stick to that sort of thing, where it's like, okay, you know, you're going to see things that were there around this era. You're not going to see anything new that came out in this set era. And that's something that I can appreciate when it comes to communication between both characters, because nowadays you would have something like a cell phone to contact a friend, but no, you got like walkie-talkies or other ways to communicate with other people in this show as well. So I just really liked this show. I thought it was very fun when I was, you know, watching every single season, and there was a lot of parts within the show itself that is very memorable, and I've always had a lot of fun with it.
I do agree with that.
Word.
This show was a lot of fun to binge. As somebody who literally watched all season 1 through 4 in the past 4 months of August, September, October, November, and now watching the next 4 episodes of season 5 of Volume 1. It's going to be intrigued how, like you guys said, you went through the years of seeing these kids grow up. I saw them in the matter of the show itself. And even so, before I saw Stranger Things, I saw like 2 movies of Millie Bobby Brown. 2 of them on Netflix. I believe one of them was like Head of State or something. Like it was with Chris Pratt, I believe it was. And I've seen a few of her movies before I saw her own TV show that got her to become the household name that she could have her own show. I mean, her own movie right after, Stranger Things. So I got to experience knowing the audience, knowing the characters even before. But the one thing I'm most grateful, I was never spoiled throughout the past 8 years of the show being released. I've never been spoiled, and that's one thing I'm grateful. Like, no type of, like, for example, One Piece. Ace. He's not part of the show for a lot because of said reason. But when it comes to Stranger Things, I don't know actual context. I knew about one thing, that 11 was a character and she had some type of superpower. And other than Vecna, but I knew his poster or his design. And other than that, I'm grateful to say I was not spoiled by nothing else. So that was one of the perks of watching the show. We did have a watch party a couple of times on our Discord community, so that was great. A few of our members, was giving live commentary of the show we're watching, which is nothing wrong. It's just that sometimes little slips out of like things going on said episode, or they might say, "Hey, this. Hey, how do you feel about this thing that's happening this season?" I'm like, "Great." I just ignore you, but I'm not acknowledging you. But I always say, "Hey, whoever's joining the the watch along, be aware. I might ignore you, might put you on mute, or just straight up just lock in and just have you zone out." So that was kind of the benefit of watching and just experience it to one of my 2 close friends and to one of my team members as well. Just watching the show for the past 4 months, and it's been great. Also, a big shout out to Knuckle, like we said earlier, having her along the journey, watching it with her, and seeing how the show is. Even though a few times she didn't watch with us, but she still gave us updates on how she thought about the episode. I did put in my background for the show, for the layout, Vecna, because he's the big bad of the season. But I did put Eddie himself, because I love that scene. For anybody, come on, man, you must love that scene. And King Steve, or technically, as the Russian said, you're wearing the costume because you're a spy.
Man, the Russians are so stupid. They're so stupid. It's just like, who do you work for? It's just like, dude, I work for Scoops Ahoy. It's just like, who do you work for? It's just like, dude, look at how he's dressed. Look at how he's acting. Who do you work for? It's just like, oh my God, this freaking guy here.
But this is the way Steve. I was just gonna say the quick comment towards that. Just the way Steve just delivered that line. Like, my guy, why would you think I wear a sailor's outfit? Why do you think I would wear it? And he just like in utterly like desperation of just like, yo, my guy, just believe me. I don't want to get beat up by you right now, my guy. Just believe me. It could just tell Steve, like, he delivered that line so well. The desperation, the exhaustedness of trying to show that to the Russian guy, the soldier, and him just not believing at all. Just keep asking him, who do you work for?
But who do you work for? Who do you work for? Tell me, American. Who do you work for?
Hey, I can't wait to talk about
all of our Russian fans are gonna hate me now. But
hey, they might appreciate. They might appreciate. Because I can't wait to talk about one of my...
We'll just all go bowling.
One of my favorite of the Russian characters I can't wait to talk about in Season 4. Because he was amazing. Even though he was a prick in the beginning, he was amazing. But I do want to say, I know that we're going to talk about characters and our favorite moments. I do want to ask, just out of the 4 seasons, is there a favorite for you? On top of your head, is there a favorite? For me, I mean, I'll say season 3 or 4. Haven't yet decided, but I love both of the seasons. Each of them gets better, but I'm still in a toss-up which one. I just love how story progression, characters, and the way it's introduced. But right now, if you ask me gunpoint or, in case Vecna, hand point instead, I would say season 4 because of Eddie, the introduction, the character build, everything coming together. At the end, the production value, the props, like everything was just well executed that I enjoy. When it comes to writing, that's a whole different conversation we will have, but just everything was perfectly well as a fan, and just seeing camera work done so well, and everything points to the scenes, the transition, everything. So for me, my answer is season 4. How about you, Drop?
It's kind of hard to say because there's a lot of good moments within the series, so it's really hard to just come to one conclusion with it. And like, I want to say 2, but that's for a very specific reason that I want to save for later. But I would honestly have to say season 4 as well. Like, season 3 was great and everything. That's probably how it was with me, where it's like every season just kept going up and up, and I just started to love that season. Like, it was 2, then it was 3, and then it was 4 and everything. But I kind of like with season 4, a lot of things came full circle when it came to like a lot of things that have to do with characters, when it comes to basically like really good character moments, just getting a lot of insight on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'd say it's a toss up for me between 2 and 3. I think three might be the stronger season between the two, so that might get the edge. Plus, I kind of like the climax for 3 a little bit more rather than 2, mainly because with 2, like, yeah, it had a sense of finality to it, but it also had the L episode where she was by herself, which, you know, we can probably get into later on. Which, you know, it's just like, oh, great, this episode exists, neat. But yeah, I'd probably say 3 because I really like what they did in that season. I think that one really encapsulated being a young preteen, almost teenager in the 80s. It was very bright. It had the mall stuff. It had, I think 11 had the best outfits in that season. I think she really like got to show off some of her best looks in the whole show overall. Yeah. Plus she had hair. So, you know, there's also that. And plus like the Billy stuff as well, I thought was really good. Like, you know, say what you want about, you know, again, this is what I mean by like, you know, having a well-written character, but also not really liking the character. Because like, I don't like Billy. Like, I despise Billy as a person, but as a character, like as a exactly, you know. But like, you know, then you get season 3 stuff, and like you see like where he came from, like his backstory, why he is the way he is, and it's just like, you know, there's an argument to be made. Like, okay, should you really have been a bully to other people? Should you really have taken everything out on other people instead of the person that you really should have been taking it out on, your dad? But, you know, even despite all that, you know, I can still separate my dislike of a person, of a character, compared to the writing of said character, because I thought Billy's writing was really well done, and especially with his redemption at the end, after like having Elle connecting with him, being like, you know, I saw your past, I saw your memories, I saw like your mom and all the horrors that you had to go through and all that, and that in turn giving him the resolve to do what he did, you know, to keep everybody safe the way that he did. You know, it's really compelling stuff, you know. So I would probably give the edge to season 3 for me personally. Plus, I mean, the ending with like Hop disappearing, like, because at first you think he's dead, but then it's just like, okay, well, you get the kind of tease at the end where it's like, oh, there's an American in this Russia camp and all that. Like, I shit you not, there were so many people. It was one of those Obi to his Toby kind of things.
Oh my God.
Where like the internet's just like, oh wait, no, Hop's dead because all those other people disintegrated. It's just like, no, he's not. He's in the Russian prison. It's just like, no, he's dead. No, he's not. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Oh, don't try to rabbit season me. How dare you? And it's like, nah, he's alive. He's alive. Like, but how did we get there? And why is he there with his Demogorgon and all that? And season 4 helped us with all that. And yeah, season season 4 does have a lot of criticisms, but we'll talk about some of those, maybe mention them and all that, because I know a lot of people just there was a lot of divisiveness when it came to season 4, at least from what I saw.
Okay. So with that, it's a good transition for us to move over to talking about, Vash, he did binge the series. You gave a good thought that, hey, did Hopper go to Russia? Did Hopper maybe go to the Upside Down? What happened to him? So during...
He's too durable. My boy's durable.
He is durable and he survived, and I feel bad for his ankles because the reason about these Vash binges little segment conversation in this is because this experience was fun. I took my time. I'm glad that I took my time from August. I started early. I didn't rush. I binge a few episodes, like sometimes 3 episodes back to back or 4 episodes. That's what we did back in the month of August, September. October and November was fun. November, we actually finished 7, 8, and 9 all in one sitting. So that was like literally from like 11 p.m. to like 4-ish in the morning. So like we was lock in. It was a great binge either way. But I would say that I didn't do a lot of theories during the binge because we usually was unexpected, like, hey, let's just sit down for 1, but then we went for 2. It was just in the moment lock in. But there's a few times that I did a few theories, and I just want to shout them out. So there's one. I wasn't there to experience that Watkins mentioned. I believe it was me and Drop watching on the end of the season 3 of the finale, and when Hopper was, from what it seems like, evaporated, and I'm like, but the other side of that connection was the Upside Down. What happened if he just got stuck there in the Upside Down just like 11 was back in the end of season 1, and we didn't see her until season 2, and Hopper was taking care of her all along? What happened if that's how Hopper got stuck in the Upside Down? That was my theory. Obviously, I think we saw season 4, episode 1, like that same night or like 2 days later, so I didn't write that theory down, but it was an interesting one.
I think that was the same night because I was there for that one. I was there because I wanted to see part of season 4, episode 1.
Okay, that's
because I knew what happened with Elle at the school when she went up to the bully. It was just like,
oh my god,
just like the cringe you feel.
I felt so bad for her. That
scene. She doesn't have the powers. Yeah.
Bro, she tried the expression, the cringe, but it was for that reason. It was for that moment, the cringe. You like, and just have her. I was hoping that, like, I know there's been probably funny edits of those or something, because you heard crickets. Like, you could hear a glass that breaks across like a mile away. That's how the awkward that scene was, and I felt bad. Imagine during the actually filming process, they was probably laughing after that. Oh, great shot, guys. Great shot. Great scene. But I'm like, that's technically supposed to be a depressing scene. We shouldn't be clapping for that.
Well, I mean, girl had it coming anyways. Plus, she got a good old roller skate to the face, so it worked out in the end.
So Stacy, I believe. Stacy was her name?
Yeah.
Stacy was her name, I believe?
Sure.
Oh, Angela.
Angela, see?
There we go.
Angela. Thank you for the reminder. But to the point that I was in my head, I wasn't there, as you guys Watkins said, that people gave these theories about Hopper being in Russia. I'm sure that Hopper was gonna stay alive. I wasn't too shocked. I'm just shocked that he was in Russia. I'm like, bro, they dead ass went from the U.S. soil, brought the Demigorgon in fucking Russia, not just one, but had a whole science lab of them, and even had Harper just to be in a jail cell just because they're mad. And even the KGB had a wanted list for fucking Joyce. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, the rust. I forgot because during my personal rewatch, I currently finished currently finished episode 7 of season 4. So some of this stuff is fairly fresh in my mind, but I got to the part where it shows how he gets over there, how they like interrogated him in the United States and then they moved him to Russia. And because like the whole time I forgot how he got over there and even why, because like before we got to that part and I'm rewatching, I'm just like, okay, why did they send him to Russia again? Like, why did they do all that? And it was just like, oh, because they wanted to torture him more. to get any kind of information to, you know, figure out, oh, who are you working for? It's just like, no. But some of the torture things, like season 4 really amps up some of the gore, and like body horror, and even some of the torture, to the point where, because I remember when this aired, it was right after a school shooting, which is why you got like the warning at the beginning of it about like harm children and all that stuff. Like it was literally like, I think a couple days, if not a day after a school shooting, and Netflix is just like, oh, we need to put this warning up really quick because like the beginning of season 4 does not hold back on making you feel kind of uncomfortable.
I do agree with that because, like I said, one of my things was Hopper being alive and being a Russian. That was pretty interesting. My other theory that I'm glad I was kind of right. I'll give myself half credit, half point. That when me and Drop were watching season 4, I said that Vecna in episode 6 and 5, that this was my theory, that before we saw the reveal of who Vecna was number 1, and number 1 was Henry, the son of Victor Creel, before we find that confirmation and that information in episode season 4 and 5, my theory, season 4, episode 5 and 6, my theory was that Vecna was number 1. That was just my theory.
Mm-hmm.
To actually see myself be right and not being spoiled, I was thrilled. Just I didn't know the connection of the dominant fight. Like that was a shocking moment. Like, oh, you're saying that number 1 is Vecna, but it's also the guy that took out 11 to escape and kill all those kids, and he's the person that became number 1 to 11, but also the motherfucking kid that did that to his own mother, his own father, and his own sister. That's fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that was a shocking moment that I didn't expect to happen, to actually see the turn of events for her. For Vecna.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of my theories. That cool. I didn't expect them to turn my theory from 8 to 11 and go that far and be like, hey, this is the connection tissue. And what's really cool, I would say, involving that, how 11 was the main character in, like, you know, throughout the whole series overall. But I love how a lot of the cast members has become main characters throughout their own plot lines, and that's how it shows that the show is very well written, because you could feel or question which is the main character throughout each season. But I love how in season 1 we have 11 being like the main focal point, but then season 4 is Nancy going to find out about Victor Creel, knowing this information, and then later Vecna is the one showing her or helping her to connect the dots of everything on their end, and when she comes back, she helps everyone connect the dots with Steve and Eddie and everyone else. So I love how each side of the party having the full picture, but without yet meeting up and having all their shared notes come together. So that's one thing that I appreciate about the season 1 and 4 kind of watch or binge I did, by connecting those dots and seeing that, oh, this is a dope type of theory I have for Vecna being number 1, but then also, it has an extra layer of how Nancy being the one, you know, being shown all this and everything. So I just love that very much. So I want to pass it to you, Drop, because you was there with me experiencing this, and you hearing me saying all this commentary of watching. How was this, hearing your friend, you know, talk about these theories, be like, oh, you know, Vash is close there. Oh, wow, that's a good theory. Like, how was the experience as well?
Yeah, so when it comes to that, I was very intrigued to see like your reactions to certain moments throughout the series. That's why I wanted things to be kept like at a bare minimum with you, because I didn't want you getting spoiled on those key moments. That's why when me and you were watching it, I'm like, okay, Vash, you need to lock in, or you need to, you know, block out the background noise when it comes to, you know, really focusing on like a specific character moment when it comes to the dialogue, understanding exactly like what's going on and how do we get here, and you know, just everything revolving around that, because there is a lot of serious moments as we get further into the season itself that definitely changes your view on things. That definitely helps you understand the story better. So I guess for me, I felt more like somebody in the audience watching how your whole entire mindset evolves throughout the show. So that's something that I was very curious to see when it comes to the certain points that you hit from like season 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. When it comes to just everything overall, like it was basically me just being there for the journey and just seeing if you either had the same reaction as me or you looked at something differently than I did, just typically stuff like that.
I do agree, because there's one thing I even said in the beginning of the show when we first started back in August. I was like, honestly, chat, fuck Steve. I did say that. I did say in the beginning when his girl said, this is bullshit. I did say, you know
bullshit.
What? You know what, Steve?
Oh, crap.
What happened?
That was going to be part of my intro, son of a bitch. Now I'm remembering, because I was going to be your guide through all the bullshit. Bullshit.
Hey, but glad you remember. Glad my words triggered that memory, though.
Oh,
bullshit.
That's like their bullshit. Like that's just their favorite word to use in the whole show. Bullshit.
And there's a lot of
I love
too.
There is. I was just gonna mention, because like in season 3, you get that moment with Steve where he kind of calls back to that, where he's just like, yeah, because it's when him and Robin are held captive by the Russians, and he's just kind of reflecting on life. He's just like, yeah, you would think that everything that mattered in high school mattered in real life, but it doesn't. You just kind of find out, you kind of realize that it's all just bullshit. And it's just like, that's such a good callback to Nancy just being drunk in a bathroom being like, bullshit.
They have a lot of great callbacks during the show, and that's very good on the writing. Like, they know how to callbacks. I'm sure, and I wonder, they have probably post-its, lines that said people have said, so I'm sure they have those type of aspects of it. But like I said, King Steve, I was on that train. I'm like, yo, fuck King Steve. I was on that train for season 1 and 2. Walk as a Drop kept asking me during our watch along from season 2 to 4. He's like, yo, how you going on, Steve? I'm like, yo, he's going there. He's getting there. By season 3, during Russia, I love how the moment that I feel like the moment that clicked to me, like, I start to like him more in season 2 and 3. But the moment that I knew I love him is when Dustin told Steve, you won a fight! You finally won a fight! You finally won a fight! Like 3 times to Steve. And Steve was so shocked and like, bro, I don't give a fuck. I'm trying to survive a Russian. In his head, Steve didn't give a fuck about it. Steve was like, my guy, I'm trying to survive these Russian guys that we're surrounded by at least 100 of them dudes. And you trying to tell me I want to fight? And like, hey, you're not wrong, because other fights where, people use weapons and disadvantages. This was a hand-to-hand combat to a Russian that he actually beat. That was unexpected. I love it, but just the way Dustin explained it, it's just the way Steve was just so flabbergasted. Like, at the moment, like, I didn't give a fuck, but he accepted the W, and that just made me love him, because the conversation after that and trying to protect Dustin, the moment with Robin, like all those, even when they were handcuffed, just all that in that one episode, I believe it was, or 2 episodes back to back, it was just a beautiful moment of Steve, and that's what made me love him. And then later finding out that Steve wanted 6 kids, because he had already had a training course of 6 kids over the past couple of years. That's when, and I'm like, yo, my dude, you know what? You're King Steve. Like, those are the 2 moments that I could click and say, because I know Walk Isn't Drop asked me that question right here in the, throughout the watch along, but also in the document, like, when or who did I change your mind on King Steve? And I could tell you those moments, and those were 2 it right there. It's just the Russian moments, and also in season 4 when he's just talking to Nancy and trying to confront his feelings, but also understanding himself during the process of like, hey, this is what I actually want. Because in the beginning of season 4, we heard him, he doesn't know what he wants. He's trying to figure life out still. But even during all the process of dying and trying to survive, he spoke his truth, he spoke his honesty, and expressed how he felt. And that's something that I love about Steve in that moment. And that's when he, in my eyes, became King Steve. And much later, when we find out in the battle and everything else, it's like, all right, cool, I can't wait to see more what he does. But duh, that is your answer, Watkins, for my moment of change, for my turn of a new leaf or new bat.
Just gonna point out that, you know, me and Dropper are right. So it's good for us to both get that acknowledgement that, you know, we were right when you guys were just like, oh, Steve's horrible. We're just like, nah, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT for a reason. He's the king. Yep. And even though he falls, he learns what it means to be a true king throughout this whole series, and I love that for him.
I did love when Billy said it. Oh, so this is the great King Steve everyone has been talking about. I love that scene. I've seen it on my timeline. By the way, my timeline now on Twitter is literally just Stranger Things now. Almost every tweet I'm like, anime, manga. Okay, cool. I love this. I'm okay with it. And I agree in the clans. If you know, you know. So just seeing that happen, and like the clip I've seen probably in the past week now, I've seen that King Steve said line from Billy at least 5 times by now in the past week, and I don't mind it. I stay watching. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. I love it. Just it's a cocky dude, literally speaking out of his most biggest chest and saying, Steve, I finally get to fight you. It's just Steve just doing the first swing. I'm like, bro, just get out the house. Just, you know what? Pa. It's just great. And, you know, Max did her thing right after that. Literally using the bat, almost swinging on his balls. And I love how Billy looked up like, did she? And then, you know, she's like, hey, you hear me, brother? Get out of a fucking way. And I just, that's moment great. I know Drop was happy when I finally turned you a leaf as well, saying, King Steve.
Yeah, because the thing that I really appreciate about Steve's character is the fact that you get to see how he evolves throughout the story, because you see how he was in the beginning. You know, he was an asshole. He didn't really care about much besides whatever mindset he had at the time. But even in the first season itself, you see his mind change. You see him wanting to make proper decisions so he can grow as a person. And then once season 2 hit, that's pretty much what starts like the full character development for Steve moving forward from 3 to 4, and probably gonna see more than that in 5 when they wrap up his character, where he befriends Dustin, he looks after the kids, he comes across Robin in the 3rd season, he accepts her for who she is, and they have like this brother and sister relationship where they're always looking after one another. And then you see in season 4 how all the other things that came before that season come full circle, because he's pretty much taking everything that he learned from those seasons and he's reflecting on them, and he's using that to grow even more as a person. That's why when you had him meeting up with Nancy again, and then Nancy sees him as a new person, and she even acknowledges it towards the end of the season when Jonathan, you know, brings up like, oh, who's gonna lead this, you know, Steve. And then you have Nancy come out and say, well, Steve, he's actually grown up a little, meaning that he's matured, he's actually taking things seriously. And even when it comes to the things that Steve did before, and I understood why it happened, because the thing about me is like when Steve lost those fights, I wasn't necessarily upset about them, because he lost those fights for a reason. Because when it came to the thing between him and Jonathan, obviously he was picking on Jonathan, and there's a reason why things headed down in that direction. But I applaud him for what he did with Billy, because even though he didn't win that fight, he still stuck up for those kids, and that's what mattered at the end of the day, was him putting himself, using him as a shield to help out those kids in that moment. That's why when, you know, Billy took a plate, which was pretty much a cheap shot, and hit Steve and everything, I was like, you know what? You still gain my respect because you did something for those kids and you helped them out in that very moment. And then seeing how he is now, how everything comes full circle, you know, a lot of people just really appreciate Steve because he was one of those characters that was probably just going to be a one-off, like it was said, how he was gonna end up dying in the first season, probably when we saw him in that Demogorgon. But because of how loved he is and how he's pretty much a part of the main cast now, a lot of people are just so attached to the character because of the journey that you have with him. That's why, like, whenever I look at Stranger Things, you know, I think of, okay, who are the best written characters in the show? And Steve and Hopper are definitely in the top of that list, because I mean, I'm hoping we see some sort of interaction with them in the last season, because we haven't had anything like that yet. But that's besides the point. Basically, you know, just looking at, you know, there's actually characters in here where it's not just them fighting these monsters. You see them grow as people. And Steve, you know, he earns the name King Steve, and, you know, the King of Hawkins High, and all these different kinds of nicknames because of who he is as a person. And that's something I can really appreciate, and that's something that I will always do. I'll always stick up for Steve when it comes to the evolution of his character and where things go. Because I will say this, though, like, when it does come to the whole Steve and Nancy thing, it makes sense. I understand some people were split on it in season 4, but I didn't necessarily mind it, because it was pretty much like a full circle moment of character growth. So it, like I was talking about, you know, just a few seconds ago. So to me, it at least made sense, just given the journey that Steve was going on and everything. And then you look at what's going on between Jonathan and Nancy right now that we touched on briefly before we started talking about Stranger Things. You can definitely see that, you know, the trauma bonding that you did with Jonathan before Nancy didn't really work out the best, huh? Because he's practically a stranger now. He's not really putting you first at all. Like, when it comes to us as content creators, obviously, you know, we put our loved ones first before it. And then you look at Jonathan, he's like, okay, you know, I'm smoking pot this season, I'm doing this, I'm lying about the college letter and everything. So it's like, you know, if I had to choose, I mean, I'm not saying we're doing a debate on the Jancy and Stancy thing on here, but it's like, I mean, you're looking at a guy that's actually very mature and came a long way compared to who he was before.
Yeah. If you want shipping wars discussion, we're not doing that currently.
No.
But I will say, you know, I agree with that, with like the whole Jonathan versus Steve kind of thing. Because like with Jonathan, his priorities have to be somewhere else for his family, because, you know, their dad is kind of a deadbeat. He's a piece of shit, you know. So Jonathan's kind of in the position where he has to be the man of the house and all that. Like when Will went away, like he did all he could, even going to his father and being like, what's going on? Like going beyond what the police even did. And, you know, you see that throughout the series. That's why, like, in season 3, when him and Nancy were working at the newspaper, that's why he was so frustrated at what Nancy was doing. Because it's like, you know, on one hand, you could understand why Nancy was trying to, like, get ahead in the business. Like, yeah, she was an intern and all that, and they were treating her like garbage, you know. So I'm not saying that they weren't, but she was dragging Jonathan with her along all that, where he really shouldn't have. And she kind of ruined, like, I don't want to say she ruined him because of that, but, you know, she didn't make anything easy for him, because, you know, he lost his job because of that. And he was kind of banking on that and hoping to, like, really make that a living for him and his family. Because, again, he's kind of got to help out a lot. Like, he's got to be one of the other breadwinners in his family. That's why it sucked in season 4 when you find out, oh, you know, he got this acceptance letter to a different college so he could be there for his family. It's just like, okay, talk to Nancy about that. And like, I think that's my biggest gripe with season 4 is, and this is just more of a personal thing, everybody's just a stupid teenager in that season. It's like, Jonathan, why don't you talk to Nancy about all of this? You know, you guys are basically adults.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's you communicate, you talk to one another and say, hey, this is what's going on. It might be hard, it might be difficult, yes, but hey, guess what? That's life. And kind of the same with like 11 in season 4. It's just like, okay, the police are questioning you. Why'd you do this? I don't know. Why are you saying I don't know? Like you could easily just say, hey, I was bullied. Why wouldn't the police like take Will's word for it? They're both brothers of hers, quote unquote, stepbrothers and all that. Will could have easily been like, hey, she's been bullied this whole time. Like, there were witnesses at the freaking skating rink, but again, this is the 80s, so it's a different time where bullying was just a-okay for everybody to do, even in a public setting. So it's just like, you have different instances like that where it's just like, okay, can we just talk and all that? But again, you can kind of chalk a lot of that under just them just being stupid teenagers, because it's just like, come on, kids, just freaking talk to one another. Like, and that's all Jonathan needed to do. That's how you like be a responsible adult. Whereas with Steve, he's still trying to figure everything out. He's entering the real world. Like, you get season 3 where you get told, okay, his dad's basically throwing him to get a job so he can learn about things and to actually like learn responsibility. Okay, great. And he learned even more by being the best babysitter of all time throughout the whole entire series. And with season 4,
I was going to say, I was going to add, and also being on top of the best babysitter, but also reminding them every single time they cheat the movie theaters, you guys will get caught, get in trouble every single time, because it shows, that he has done it numerous times, because the way they're exhausted of hearing it from him, they're like, we know. It shows that he has done it week to week or day to day every time of them sneaking into the theater.
Exactly. And then like with season 4, it goes beyond just like, real world responsibilities. It goes into, okay, I'm forcing myself to be a leader here. Like he starts like planning, like not necessarily like fully planning things, but kind of like delegating where people are going. So like he knows he's learning everybody's strengths and weaknesses and where they can be and all that. And luckily he has Robin as a good right hand man, I'm gonna say, wingman, if you will, because they're both each other's wingmen. Yeah. I mean, the freaking pep rally scene where like they start talking about what's her face, or no, the game, the basketball game, which I don't want to get into a whole tirade about issues with season 4, but with the basketball game though, I did like the part where like they had, what was her name, Tammy, the Muppet singer, coming back from Nashville to sing the national anthem.
That was horrendous to hear. I'm like, God damn.
Oh, so good. But like, yeah, he gets himself into this leadership role, and I mean, this might be jumping the ship, like with like theories or like what could be happening at the end of the series. I think it was you dropped that had mentioned earlier, like him and Hopper haven't really had much interaction. I'm just gonna throw it out there, and this kind of hit me as we were talking here. He could end up being chief of police.
Yeah, I can easily see something like that, especially when it comes to the detective work that he's doing, especially when it comes to getting a better understanding of it, especially with what we saw in the previous season and just seeing how his characters evolve throughout the story. I could definitely see something like that coming into picture.
Yeah.
That's a good, that is actually a big shout, because I didn't really think that far for Steve in that remark.
No.
But before we get into more theories, before we get into our season 5 discussion, because I know, chat, we're about to get into that right now. I want to have 2 questions for you guys. Favorite characters with an S. So this not one, but favorite characters of Stranger Things. Drop. I'm gonna go with you first. You don't have to give top 3, top 5. Just shout out your favorite, and then at the end of this segment, we could just give our least favorite. Not in a bad way. It's just how we feel. But Drop. Give me your core favorite.
Not in a bad way. No, I might go off on a couple people, but we'll see.
Yeah, so my favorite character in the series as a whole is Steve. I think I made that pretty apparent throughout the stream itself. Hopper's another one that I really like as well. Dustin's probably my favorite kid out of the group. I really like Robin a lot as well, especially ever since she got introduced in season 3. I really got attached to her character. I also think Vecna is a great antagonist in the series, especially when it comes to his origin story and how he fits into, you know, everything that's happened ever since the very beginning. So that's 4 right now. The 5th one would have to be, I probably have to say Max. Like, I really do like Max, especially like how much focus we got on her in this season, like the most recent season 4, and just seeing her character evolution ever since the very beginning. Because like I always look back at that conversation that she had with Lucas when they were inside of the arcade in the back, you know, talking, where Lucas talking about, you know, everything revolving the upside down and all this stuff that, you know, she was about to get into, where she's like, okay, you seriously want to know about all of this? And you look at that whole conversation that they had with one another, then you look at the current predicament that she's in, it almost makes you think, should she have gotten herself involved? Or maybe it was a blessing in disguise, because if she never came across these people, I mean, who knows where she would be. So yeah, that would probably have to be my favorite, and then I'll give the least favorites once we get there.
All right, that's a good list. How about you, Walkers? You got your top 5 since it's season 5? Let's go.
I mean, Steve's definitely up there. Same with Dustin. I think I'm in the same wavelength as Drop. I think he's probably my favorite kid. I think he definitely comes leaps and bounds, especially with his, not only with his character growth, but just like being the brains of the whole operation. Like if it wasn't for Dustin, they would be totally screwed, especially in like seasons 3 and 4. Like if it wasn't for Dustin, they would be royally fucked. Yeah, Robin's a good shout out. Eddie's always a big shout out.
He's another one too. Yeah.
I think with my rewatch of season 4, I've grown to love Eddie a little bit more than I did. Because I mean, I liked him beforehand, but like I think this rewatch, I've actually really adored him. But my favorite is Hopper, because I kind of lean towards like these failed heroes of series. So it's like, you know, you have your Hoppers, you have your Jiraiya's kind of aesthetic or like feeling, where it's just like, you know, they're great guys, they're great mentors, but they are kind of failures as well. And like, I mean, especially with Hop's journey of, you know, losing his daughter, having everything fall out with his wife and all that, like the phone call he gets, like he gives to his wife, I think it was like season 2, I want to say season 2, and then he hears a baby in the back, and just that immediate shock of realizing that she moved on, like completely moved on, and he's just stuck in this rut still. You know, it kind of speaks to me on a more personal level on that stuff. But like then season 4 happens, and again, like with my recent, you know, rewatch of the series, you know, I left off on episode 7. Like I finished episode 7, which, you know, you get the whole Vecna like you get the full Vecna reveal, but you also get Hop and Joyce reuniting. And I mean, this is what I'm talking about when like you get good character moments and like good character acting, because like you have Hop, who's spent the better part of like 6 months to a year with being tortured, like getting gas mask on his face, losing air, like being tied, not being able to do anything, getting his ankles busted open, frostbite, like all those things, having to eat chunky peanut butter for the one time that he's free. You know, like he's had to deal with some horrible shit, but like he finally beat, like they don't beat the Demigorgon in this Russian facility. They at least hold it off, and then they get locked into this other prison part. And then as soon as the doors open, he's ready for a fight. He's ready to go guns blazing. He has nothing but his two fists. You know, any man with two fists has a fighting chance, as James Ellsworth used to say. But like the door opens, and you can just see in his face. And I'm gonna try not to get choked up with it because it's a really good scene. But it's like you just see like in his face and his demeanor, just like just like the hardships he's had to go through just kind of like start to fade away as you just see Joyce standing there almost about to bust into tears and just walk up to him very slowly, and like you could tell he's not hugging her back. He's just so shocked that he's there. But then like there's that moment, it's very small, it's a very real moment too, like because her head's like right here, you just kind of see his like head just kind of go down a little bit, like he finally like lets his guard down for the first time in almost a year, and he smiles. Like it's such a good moment, and just I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I swear. Like a lot like it, because like I know a lot of people are like, oh, Steve's probably gonna die at the end of the series. Fuck you for saying that. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. But also Hop, you better not. No, you and Joyce need to go to Enzo's for your date. Have your date. Go on your date and then start doing your thing, because you both deserve happiness. You know, even though you both are kind of thick-headed and stubborn, you both deserve each other because of everything. Like, again, there's part of the trauma bonding too, but like they do have a past with each other from like going to high school together, smoking in the parking lot and all that. But like with Hop, like I don't know, there's a lot of just like personal reasons I connect to him on such a deep level, and he is one of my favorite characters. He's in the rankings as one of my favorite characters, just in a lot of media, because again I kind of gravitate towards these failed heroes kind of or like mentor kind of characters. But man, also he grew out his beard, I guess, in season 5.
Oh hell yeah, that trailer.
I don't know the timeline.
It seems like at least a month or two.
What's the timeline between like that's a crazy growth for just a month.
No
beard,
but that's what I'm saying, because it takes my beard to get into this 2 months at least. This like a full bush. At least
he has
2
like
months.
a full like mountain man beard.
But he already had this kind of when he left Russia and met our girl 11 at the end. So he kind of had that bit. So he just continued. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe a month or two added already to what he has. It's just ongoing. But before we get to season 5, before we get right into it, but I love your points. It sounded also like you mentioned your favorite moment of your rewatch, because that's what also sounded like it. Like
one of them.
Okay, one of them. All right, cool. Yeah, because that was my next question before we get into our season 5 discussion. But when it comes to that being a great one moment shout out, I'm gonna say my moment, because I know I had it. I posted on Twitter. I just had it, because sorry, not my favorite moment, but my favorite top 5 characters. I tweeted it, but I wanted to make sure it's still the same.
You didn't mess it up?
Yeah, I didn't mess it up. That's why I'm trying to find it right now. All right.
Because
do I still agree with this? Yes, I still agree with this. Yes. So my number 1, and I'm okay with him being number 1, is Steve. King Steve is there.
Yep.
But honestly, he could be switched with Hopper. Hopper's my favorite. The reason I say this, I should say with a caveat, that I just watched this as a binge, and I didn't grow up with the characters from 2016 to now. If I watched this earlier, maybe I would have said a different answer. But maybe it's because I'm 29 years old watching this and seeing Hopper is why a lot towards what Watkins said. Relatability, seeing who he is, seeing his failures, but also growing out of them, asking for growth, trying to do the best he can, talking to himself a lot, trying to sacrifice and questioning himself and his own identity in a fucking jail cell before he fights the Demogorgon. Be like, yeah, let me talk to you about my father. Let me give you my whole flashback real quick. You other prison guard that also fucked me over. Let me give you my quick background and relate with you as well.
It wasn't the prison guard's fault.
It wasn't the prison guard.
Yuri's fault.
It was Yuri, of course. It was any guy that has the name Yuri. I feel like will always betray you or will always lie to you. Any Yuri.
And you know, special shout out because I'm sorry. I think I want to shout him out. You know, we mentioned Yuri, which fine, cool, and all that. Murray, special shout out to you, buddy.
100%.
You're the goat. He's got a black belt.
Oh,
he stood out.
I was questioning Drop when we were watching.
My fist of fury.
When we were watching during the plane scene, during the plane scene, in my head I'm like, yo, does he have an actual black belt? Like, is he actually about to do some moves there? And I think his answer dropped as it like, you'll see, just wait a moment. And then to actually see him hit like a 1-2-3 combo on Yuri, he like, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't expect it from you, Mori, but I gotta give it to you. You're becoming great. Like, if I had a top 10, Mori would definitely be like number 8 through 10. Like, he's there, bro. He helped them in season 3 with a Russian to give you the translation. Go down the Soviet Union in the basement, get the kids.
Season 2.
In season 2, yeah.
To be like, hey, Nancy, and Jonathan.
I helped them out there.
Stop being stupid kids.
And then season 4, travel to Russia to save Hopper. But to finish off, Hopper's my number 1. Steve or Hopper. They could switch, but I'm okay with Steve or Hopper. Number 3, out of the kids, is Dustin. 100% Dustin. I have to give a caveat because during Vash, binging, I hated Lucas. I'm going to be straight up. Technically, Lucas out of the 4 seasons was my least out of the kids. Not saying that he's a bad character. It's just, Lucas during season 1 was just on top. Like, forget 11. We gotta, she ain't part of the crew. But then once he, finds a girl, Max, he'd be like, Max is my girl. I'm going to hunt for her. Then in season 4, he like, basketball team. It's all about basketball team. Even though I appreciate 2 people, Max during that scene, that she actually listened during the right type of radio station to find out the results.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve still going to every basketball game and support Lucas no matter what, even if he was only a bench warmer. So a big shout out to that. Even though I didn't like him throughout some scenes, it's just because I understand where he's coming from. Black kid trying to survive in this type of town. That's why he didn't want to fuck with 11. Like, we have our own crew. We're trying to figure out, let's find Will first. We can't add a new member to the party, all this. But there's a few moments throughout the binge I didn't like it. But out of the crew, Dustin's my favorite. And then out of the other adults, Joyce. I love Joyce. That was a mother. That is a mother. That is the mother of the show. She kept going through season 1, never giving up on Will, checking him up on season 2, still trying to find a solution. Season 3, she was like, electromagnets, right? Why they're not sticking, Murray? What's going on? And even went through the science teacher. Like, that is a mother. She said, I found a problem. I'm gonna be detective. Hopper hired me. I gotta be a deputy, my G. I'm doing your job. I'm your assistant. We are knocking this out in the park. But also even traveling to Russia to find your man, like Watkins brought up, just on that moment, she was there to survive. She was there like, I will help you out. You can't leave me no more. I am part of this journey with you. So I really appreciate it very much about that. And the last one, because of season 4, the background, Eddie. That's my 5th one. That's my top 5. Eddie is awesome as hell. Literally, with him just starting the show in season 1, just doing the craziness, it almost reminded me of Io Sky just doing this instead of just Eddie just doing this. And finding out that this same guy is Human Torch, Johnny Storm. It's awesome. It just fits a cool, I love him as Johnny Storm. Now I love him as Eddie. It's just great to see a great character like him do his thing and die in a blaze of glory. Like, literally, this man play a metal rock song literally in the upside down where nobody else would know except 3 or 4 of the people. That's fucking amazing. Like, that's my top 5.
I'm not looking forward to revisiting that. I'm not looking forward to that pain again.
Oh my God.
I'm not at all. I'm sitting here like... Yeah.
It was tough because the funniest thing that Drop heard me from episode 5 through 7. Eddie don't die. Eddie don't die. Eddie don't die. I kept saying, I hope Eddie don't die throughout my watches. Drop didn't say a single thread of needle, no nothing until it happened. I'm like, bro, he actually died. He actually, I felt like a teardrop. I I was emotional.
Mhm.
I'm like, bro.
Yeah, that's why I was like making sure, like when we were in call watching it, that no one was like hinting at it or saying anything, because I was gonna get mad. I was like, come on, that's something that you don't spoil for somebody, especially when it comes to like how impactful that was. Because even though he wasn't there for that long, a lot of people do look at his death as probably one of the saddest moments in the series, just because of how everything came full circle in that moment. And I can't blame them, because, you know, his whole story, like the whole theme of his character was always running away, and then you see him not running away anymore, and he puts his life on the line to give Steve and Nancy and Robin more time when they're getting inside there to find Vecna inside of the house and everything, and just helping everybody as a whole. So it's like that's something that you need to have like a full-on raw reaction to, with no context at all, so you could fully absorb that moment.
Yep.
I would say I would say that was one of my moments that I would say, like, you know, transitioning into our favorite moments of Stranger Things, because now that we gave our, you know, wait, before we get to our favorite moments, hopefully, my apologies, I forgot to say at least favorite characters of the show, because I know Walker wants to spit some hot fire here real quick, but I'm gonna just say Lucas was definitely my least favorite overall. Like, I can't see what happens next for Lucas and Max. I want their story, their progression. I want to see what happens next. I want to see him as, like, does he become more closer with his friends? Hey, like, fuck the jocks, because we know in season 5 trailer, we know that the jocks are bullying Dustin. What is Lucas gonna do? Like, hey, if you don't do anything, my G, you are definitely my least favorite overall throughout the series now. So, like, it really depends. So I would say Lucas is right now my least favorite out of the characters. I will say the other one, I will say, not saying Will, but that's like another character that I'm really interested to see the story where it goes. But at the moment, that's a character that I have least importance of connection or care for, but I'm really interested where he goes. Other than that, the last person I will say is Mike's mother. That family.
No, hold on, wait, no, hold on. Mrs. Wheeler might be, especially in season 1, she might be a hidden gem in that, because she at least tries with her kids. She at least tries to be a parent, to like talk to them. Like, she's constantly like, hey,
especially
talk to me.
Season 5
no, she tried. I do give credit, but just then in season 2, she almost went with Billy, almost keyword, and then,
I mean, do you blame her? Like, not to condone cheating or anything, but seasons 2 and 3,
she was locked in. Understandable.
Like, if she didn't have that little kid, also, she probably would have.
Her husband in season 4
is a piece of shit.
That's why I changed my mind for saying the mother. I said the parents overall, because, you know, both of them don't have the best track record overall. But just like, the father said, yeah, let's just send our kids to jail. Probably a good night in jail will help them learn their lesson. I'm like, really?
No.
Really, Mr. Wheeler?
Get out of here
really?
With that, Mr. Wheeler.
I'm like, my guy. And and also, like, Erica at the moment said, like, yeah, they lied to you. I'm like, Erica, shut your mouth. Wait until they put you in the moment. But by the way, Erica, I didn't like her in the beginning, but she came around in season 4. There's a girl, I love her in season 4. She came around in season 3. I'm like, girl, you are just like a snitch, but as a kid, but like a cool snitch kid in a way. So I'm like, interesting. And also for the reports in season 5 that she's getting bullied, but I will talk about that later with you guys, because I'm curious about that. But Drop, tell me about your least favorite characters.
So probably the first one would probably have to be Jonathan, because I liked him in the very first season, but it's just the whole evolution of his character now when it comes to the character regression that he has, where it's like you have him, like, you know, becoming a pothead. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just specifically looking at his relationship with Nancy. You would think, okay, you know, he would be more upfront with her when it comes to talking about the college letter, talking about personal things that it has to do with his family, because that's something that you bring up when you're in a relationship, so your significant other can understand exactly what's going on with you at that time. So just because of that very moment, and then still, even after Steve came back when they were at Joyce's house, you still have like this evil things to say about him all the time. When he was the one that gave you a new camera, you can clearly see that he cares a lot about those kids, and you just see him not as the same person he was before, and he's apologized for what he's done. So it's like, why do you still look at this guy like a different way? Like, maybe take some time to look at yourself in the mirror and actually acknowledge your flaws. Like that's my biggest gripe with him. And I guess another character I can say, really, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, because like there's some characters I can't necessarily say I don't like. I just don't have that much attachment for, because I didn't really care about Lucas in the beginning either. But I feel like towards the end of season 4, I started caring about him a lot more. Like, I still cared about him prior, but it's like once he actually came back and started helping his friends and everything, and he got into that fight with Jason and all of that. And a lot of people agree that Caleb had a very good performance when Max like died in that moment, when it came to his acting as a whole. And just looking at how season 4, like ever since Max was put in a coma, he's been by her side every single time. And I've heard things and it doesn't really make sense for him to be with the Jocks anymore, because if you look at what's currently going on right now, and especially with what Jason did, it'd kind of make him look like an idiot just as much as Jonathan if he's still friends with them, when their fucking leader basically ruin the entire plan by stepping on the little cassette tape where Max can listen to her music. So I would hope to God he's not friends with them anymore. I would hope to God they would all meet up together, put their hands in the middle, and lift them up in the air. I'm pretty confident that he probably doesn't associate with them. Like, if anything, if there's like a hopeful thing I would want for Lucas is to just, be more involved with his friends, which I feel like I'm pretty confident he will, especially after what happened to Max, because that really fucked him up. And it's like we spoke about before, there's one thing that happens in your life that really changes you, like Steve, like Hopper, and all these other characters. And I feel like what happened at that moment when it came to Max is probably gonna change for him. But outside of that, though, I don't really know. Like the whole thing with Billy, like, I don't like Billy. I appreciate what he did towards the end of season 3.
I'm on the same page with that.
But I don't know, really. It's just more or less one of those situations where I just don't care for certain characters as much as others, not necessarily hating them. That's the thing.
If I could add towards that, Jonathan, I do agree with. I was very upset that, look, chat knows, people know I'm a pothead, but I don't ever do it on stream. It's something I do private or non-camera. This is not part of the company. That's not who I am. But just making Jonathan look that he's high all the time, but then not being present, that just makes it him not knowing how to do his weed, or at the time it's the 80s at the end of the day. Also, Argyle. At some point, Argyle, in my head, I'm like, bro, shut the fuck
Argyle's
up.
Great.
He's great for the comedy, for the bits and everything, for the comedy and the good conversation. But at some point, I'm like, Argyle, my God, you're doing too much.
Here, let's put it into perspective, because Jonathan's kind of one of my least favorite characters as well, so this is a good transition for that. And I won't repeat much of the stuff that they said about Lucas and Erica, because they're also some of my least favorite characters. It's season 4. Oh my God, everybody's just a stupid teenager in season 4. But Argyle, say what you want about him, but even he knew, hey man, shouldn't you talk to Nancy about that? Even he did
100%. 100%. He did, gave a fact, like, yo,
Argyle,
you should talk to your girl about that.
Yeah. Like, even he was more responsible than Jonathan in that instance. It's just like, come on, Jonathan. Even the like super doped up pothead knows what to do. Even like the guy who rents Cheech and Chong on a weekend knows how to talk to a woman. Hell, he met up with freaking Susie's sister.
By the way,
they smoked pot in the van.
Probably Yuri. I don't like Yuri that much either.
Yeah.
You could die. You could die. He's a liar and a cheater.
Peanut butter.
Oh yeah. But
get more. Look,
A big shout out to
He
Susie.
knows how to get the money, though.
I just want to give a big shout out to Susie, but she was the MVP. Without them, they could have never saved 11 from the government, or they could have never sang the song of "Turn Around" with Dustin in the live walkie-talkie. I love how Joyce and everyone was staring, was literally staring at the like, bro, are these kids dead ass doing this right now? And it was adorable. I love that moment.
See, Susie, and again, this is more of just probably a more personal thing with me. Susie was fine in season 3. Season 2, with her hacking and finding out where 11 was, I'm literally sitting there thinking, this is a high schooler that found this out. How did nobody else find it out?
Yeah.
How did no other computer whiz in the world find it out? But
it's a high tech whiz. We gotta, you know.
Is it high tech?
It's the 80s. It's the 80s
She's
with a computer.
Woman in Utah. Oh my god.
And also she's religious. You know, somehow the you know the faith of God also gave her that power too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like, I'm not gonna fully fault the series on it, but it's one of those things where like it happens. I'm just like. Okay, fine, because they do have to find 11 in this instance. I get that, but it's just like, could it be done a different way? Maybe, but I don't know. Again, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know about this, but fine, do whatever you want. So you literally have a housewife going to Russia, to a Russian base, taking down Russians. All right, fine. Let's do this. Let's do this thing. And the conspiracy theorists, like who knows black belt against teenagers. I'm sorry, not to get back to Murray. I love how he's just like, what's his face? He's 16 and I beat him once.
And the kids are older than 13, by the way. Is what he also gave the little asterisk.
The age limit.
Yeah, age limit is 13.
So,
but no, I think we can use this transition to talk about our big shout out to our favorite moments before we get into a big theories and speculation of anything. And I know we have sprinkled here and there a favorite moment, so we don't really have to stay here too long. So, if any that you guys missed out, I do want to give a shout out to one because the moment was beautiful that Steve and Robin moment in the bathroom of Robin letting us know that the audience that she goes the left way, she goes for girls, and Steve was saying that, hey, you are cute, I find you adorable, can we do something? And that's when she said, hey, I'm sorry about that, but I'll go this way. And is where Steve was accepting her, but also him kind of apologizing that sorry I was an asshole back then, I'm actually a cooler person. Like, I love the interaction between both of them there because it felt very wholesome. But what happened right after that, they was both handcuffed and they was both on the ground, just having like another sentiment moment within one another of trying to survive, and him just being real but also kind of vulnerable to us, the audience, but also to Robin. And I really love that for his character because it just shows that, hey, we're going through a Russian shit and we're about to get tortured and everything, but let me be here in this moment and speak the truth.
Yeah. I think what I really like about that scene that you mentioned is Steve's reaction to it and how he responded to it, because it's like, it could be one thing would be like, oh, okay, I'm fine with that and all that. Like, instead of going like that route, it literally went the route of like two best friends talking, where like, he sat there and processed it, but he's just like, really, out of all people, Tammy. Like,
there's other good-looking girls, like, really, her out of all.
Yeah,
why?
It's like, you're literally gonna go with this Muppet singer and be like, okay, she's the hottest thing ever, and like it just kind of devolves to just two best friends talking, just talking shit.
That is true. That is a good point. I really
like that
because I've had those moments when I was single and I had friends that were lesbian, and me and them would joke around and like, hey, how does that girl look? And you know what, girl don't look that good. Like, hey, but she's my taste. Girl looks better. So I can understand that too, because I've had this conversation, and it's more of the wholesome type of best friend moment.
Yeah, or even having like, because my ex, she was actually bi, or bi curious or whatever. Anyways, but like we would watch something like The Bachelor, for example, or The Bachelorette, and we would actually kind of sit there with a pen and pencil and like rate each one out of 10. And then see
compare
how
notes?
at the end of the season who was left. Yeah, and be like, okay, how did this 4 last this long? What? Nani the fuck? Oh, so the 3 ended up being the bitch of the season or the villain or whatever. Like, okay, great, awesome. Like,
If random people just saw that, they would be out of context.
discussions.
Like, what is this? But then, like,
It
only
would
you
be.
guys will understand it. Like, this logically makes sense to other people. Like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck is this algebra, data, algorithm here going on?
Yeah.
I would say
and
another
I guess
moment. Sorry, my apologies. Just
yeah, go
another
ahead.
moment that I have.
No. Yeah.
Is the moment of Mike telling 11, "I love you" during the tub. Him knowing that, hey, 11's going through some shit with Vecna,
Mm-hmm.
but him telling like, hey, like for anybody that understands reference of the Flash, your lightning rod was the anchor that keeps you out of the Speed Force. That's what I saw. Mike being the the 11 being the Flash, and then Iris West being Mike. Mike is the lightning rod to bring back 11, to give her the fuel of strength to win against Vecna, and give her the motivation. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you I love you. It's not because I don't, but it's because once I say it, I'm scared to lose you, because you could do so much more greatness without me, and I feel like I'm holding you back, and I'm scared to lose you because I don't want to lose you. And like all those words, anybody could relate to some type of retrospect or even to some lines, but I understood where Michael's coming from because I've been there before. For my current partner, I've told her this before, like she finds me great and I find her even much better than me, and I told her like, I think you could do better. But it's just those things that it's those self-doubts and those self-questions, and the way Mike executed that was so well, because it gave her that extra strength, it gave her the power, it gave her that gear 5 to like come out, take those threads off and her do the thing. But also it's because of the Demogorgons also was getting burned alive in Russia, so that helped her out with a bonus. But just that moment of Mike and everything saying I love you and express himself is another moment I will say that's one of my favorites. So Watkins, talk to me. What else you was gonna say?
Because I'm trying to think of like other moments that are just really good, and I mean, I know we haven't really mentioned it yet from season 4. But I mean, the Dear Billy part, where Max is reading her letter to Billy. I'm not gonna say too much about it, because if I do, I'm gonna probably break down here during the recording and stream and all that. But like, it's just such a powerful moment, from like writing a letter to somebody that's just not there anymore, that you can't talk to anymore, and to then immediately go to her almost dying, almost becoming another portal to the upside down and all that. And I mean, running up that hill, like there's a reason that song was kind of made top of the charts for a bit, because of this show and because of that episode. Like it was a powerful moment to really show that, she still was latching on to life, because like the whole time, like at least during season 4, she's kind of struggling with even still almost like a survivor's guilt in a sense, where like she was struggling with even continuing on. Like, yeah, her and Billy didn't really get along too well. Things were getting better after season 2,
but that's still brother. No matter what, that's still somebody you could call family.
Yeah. So like she was trying to come to grips with that. Like they couldn't really fully bury whatever hatchet they had and all that, and again, Billy had his issues as well, and they can never be resolved now on her end. And so there's probably still part of her that feels like there's just unanswered questions. It sucks, in that aspect. But then again, she still wanted to live, because she still saw that she had people to live for, and like you have Lucas during the first half of the whole season being like, it's almost like you're not here, it's almost like you're a ghost and all that, and like that sucks
real.
when you're going through something like that. It really is real, especially if you're somebody that like has gone through moments like that in your life. Like you do just feel like you're a zombie just walking through life, just feeling like you're somebody that like you're just on autopilot. And it just sucks. And you get to that point, hopefully you get to that point where you get pulled away from it.
Yeah.
But it's a really powerful moment from season 4. And I mean, there are other moments that I'm sure we're not going to hit on tonight, all that, but we'll try to hit on as much as we can, because this is just a series that just has so many good character moments in it. Like even like season 1, like the one that really comes to mind is when after Elle saves them from the bullies at the cliff, and you just have Dustin yelling back at the bullies, like, yeah, this is our friend, she's crazy.
I love the proudness.
Yes, Dustin, you yell at them.
I love the proudness of him just saying, she will fuck you up and she will kill you type of energy. Like, she ain't will do anything. Yeah. We will tell her. And I just love that type of energy. You speaking of that, about that moment, I was with you guys watching that moment of Max. It was emotional. I did tear during that moment. I was not there during that wave of, running up the hill during that life chart and everything. I was not there. But hearing that, hearing that from this show, I've heard 2 songs. The one that Eddie sang and the one of Running Up the Hill. Those are the 2 songs I've heard constantly since we have finished the show. It's been such a journey. It's been such a great part. And it shows that the moment of Max it feels so real in how you could feel the attachment of hanging by a thread is what the phrase is. Like, you are going there by what Walker says, zombie and everything. And I felt a lot towards Max, as I know many people feel lost in where the direction they're going. Life is hard to kind of navigate. But in that scene, 100% agree. It kind of reminds me a bit of similarity to the scene you mentioned earlier when it comes to Hopper putting his head down on Joyce. It's kind of like a survival instinct. You are on survival instinct nonstop, and when you finally let that instinct turn off, you're like, I could just mellow. I don't have to be so stressed. I could just finally sit down and be like present. And that's what Hopper did when Joyce came back in, and when Max finally let Lucas back in. I think back in episode 4 through 7, like when she finally, say, hey, let's go to the movies. They accepted each other a date, like slowly letting him back in and accepting that. So it just showed that beautiful moment. But talk to us. What is another moment that you want to shout out before we get into our big theories?
So probably another moment for me would probably have to be from season 4 with Steve, when it comes to that whole self reflection that he had, when it comes to his character coming full circle, when it comes to him just looking back from where he was to where he is now. I just really like the moment with him and Nancy inside of the van, and then him talking to Nancy in the upside down, talking about the dream and everything, and also the relationship that even him and Eddie were building that I really wish we could have saw more of, because I feel like, with Nancy having a female friend like Robin now in that season, I really wanted to see Steve have somebody outside of the kids to really get close to, and I felt like you could have really had that with him and Eddie. I felt like that could have gone a lot of places when it comes to both of them. Like I said, it just, hanging around Dustin and the kids all the time. You got somebody like him that you grew close to throughout the season, and even with Eddie, just acknowledging that Steve Harrington is actually a good dude. Just basically a lot of moments within Steve that that season itself, because they always do this with every season because they know he's a fan favorite character. They always make sure that there's significant moments with him, not just something that's like a gag and you move on from it. Like, it's actually really important for his character, because with season 2, you know, you had him and Dustin forming that bond, him becoming the babysitter, the moment with Billy. Then season 3, you had that whole moment between him and Robin in the bathroom that you brought up earlier. And then season 4, the self-reflection, the relationship with him and Nancy, and, you know, getting close to Eddie and all of that. And yeah, I even like that moment towards the end where he's just smiling when Robin's talking to Vicky and everything as he's helping out at the community center with the laundry and everything.
Yeah.
It's just like moments like that I really appreciate, and it just means a lot to me that, you know, they're giving a lot of depth to these characters that we really care about. Like, that's why it's like when it comes to Stranger Things, it's hard to really say like a favorite moment. There's just so many moments to choose from, and we said a lot of them, so
Yeah.
it's really hard to just choose one.
Yeah.
One more to add to the one
Yeah.
you mentioned is that even with Eddie and Steve right here, their moment that Eddie said, "Yo, I'm a bit jealous of you." Steve was a bit shocked. Like, why? Because Henderson speaks very highly of you. He looks up to you like a role model.
Yeah.
Steve was a bit thrown off because he knew, like, he had an inkling that Henderson looks up to him, but he didn't know that he speaks highly about him to other people. That even Eddie said, like, "Yo, I was a bit jealous because who is this guy?" But now you know, like, getting to meet you, I fuck with it, and that's what Eddie gave the vibe to. Even another one I give a small shout out to, him wearing the sailor outfit when Henderson came back from vacation and doing a fucking lightsaber, fucking Chewbacca type of moment. It was fucking hilarious. It's like, wait, what?
Oh, the handshake.
Yeah, the handshake. That like Henderson, and I love how Robin said, "Hey, your kids is here." And they just come out at Henderson, and then he does that, and they just do it, shoo, 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 ah! It's just fucking wholesome.
Yeah.
It just shows that
They have
Steve
best
made the
dynamic
time.
in the series, for sure.
Exactly. Steve made the time
That'd
to
be
watch
great
the movie
dynamic.
of the first
In-
Star Wars: A New Hope.
On and off screen too. Like,
Yeah,
It also seems
yeah,
like based on the trailer itself that I saw with season 5, it seems like he's gonna help Dustin with a lot of his trauma with Eddie this season,
I
because you
hope-
see
yeah.
that one moment in the trailer where he's like hugging him close, and that's the one person, like Eddie said, he looks up to and stuff. Well, obviously, you know, Steve's gonna have to be there for him because he's going through a lot of shit, because you could even see the way he looks in that season, growing his hair out. It just looks like he never got any sleep.
So I know Joff just mentioned it. Does anybody have any last favorite moments to kind of give a shout out before we transition? Chat, I know that this is our first Stranger Things conversation. Don't worry, we will be having a volume 1 review the end of Thanksgiving weekend, so check that out when we have our review drop. So don't worry, volume 1 will be covered. We don't have an estimate of how long that will be because it's 4 episodes that are maybe an hour plus each, so stay tuned for that, how we're gonna review them, maybe each episode, or 4 episodes, 1 cover. Stay tuned for how we do that. But Walker's Drop, have any last shout outs, moments that you want to give before we get into our theories of season 5?
No,
I think-
because I mean,
yeah, I think I'm good.
if I talk more about Steve and Hopper, I'm gonna become a little blubbering bitch.
All I'm gonna say is
God damn,
fuck
they're
Papa.
really good. Like I'm just sitting here thinking about that moment with Steve and Eddie, and just like there's so much to just dissect just from that.
Oh,
that
yes.
alone is like a 30-minute conversation. But like, and I feel bad because like we've gone like over almost an hour and a half, barely even talking about 11 and like Mike and like all them. It's just like I feel bad because like they are really good characters. It's
Yeah.
just like there are some that are just a little bit more personally better for us, it seems like, which you know, I mean, with 11, I mean, most of her things are just like her coming into herself and like becoming the person that she is, or like discovering herself and all that. Like, and I mean, you really get that in like seasons 3 and 4, because like season 3, she's finally, you know, an actual daughter, if you will.
Yeah.
Actually able to, well, I mean, she's not able to go to the mall because they kind of sneak her out at one point, but like, you know, she goes to the mall, she has that moment with Max and all that, and then like season 4 you're seeing her like being integrated into school, which you kind of see, you know, back in the 80s they didn't do too kindly with, like, you know, special needs or, you know, learning
The disabilities.
I don't really know how to correctly say it. Yeah, yes and no. I don't know. The times are weird because everything's changing with like naming things and all that
Terminology,
stuff. But, like,
you're right.
You see that. Yeah, terminology. So it's just like you see, you know, how it kind of felt like back then with 11 trying to be integrated into real society, starting to lie on her own to Mike in season 4, being like, oh yeah, everything's great, I have friends. Tee. Turns out you don't have friends.
My friend Angelica, yay.
Yeah.
Well,
and they threw my milkshake back at me.
The only reason I wasn't too stressed of bringing Mike or 11 or Will, because the reason is because they are a 3 main factor for season 5, because we are going to be mentioning them in the next couple moments now, because they are going to be talking, because this is more of just glazing
transitions, people.
Yes, thank you for that, Walkers, because chat, this is our season or series overall discussion conversation, just not really a full format, just talking about favorite moments, characters, us glazing the things that we love, the things we didn't like we'd mentioned, the characters we, you know, Lucas, St. Clair, Erica, fucking the jocks and their stupid. I'm glad that Jason got evaporated by the opening portal. I'm gonna just say this, I'm glad that burned him and just execrated, like he well deserved. But if you don't want to be burned and irritated, because we are here entering into the upside down into season 5, because season 5 is approaching on November 26th, according to this recording, 10 days from now, because we are recording the 16th. So by the time you guys are watching this full version is on a Tuesday the 18th, and by then will be 8 days from now. So the question is, what theories do you guys have? What theories do I have? Not that we're all on the same page of conversation of Stranger Things. We have seen a bit of trailers. Me and Job watch like 3 or 2 versions of them, so we have a bit of insight of what it could be. I know that Drop saw the first 5 minutes as well of season 5 episode 1, and there's a whole fucking goddamn thread of season 5 episode 1 of a breakdown of what happened in that whole episode, which is crazy. Did I read the first 5 or so slides out of the 25 posts? Yes, I did, because out of curiosity. But at the end of the day, I'm still have some theories and I'm excited for it. And yes, we'll be talking about 11, Mike, all the characters that will survive or that will die in first volume 1 or in the season overall. So who's excited for season 5? I want to first ask before we get into full conversation. Are you excited or stressed on how they're going to end this show? Are you scared of the Duffy brothers? You know, how some shows start a great way, but then fall on the last season. Are you guys full of anticipation?
I'm just going to start off really quick. I did not watch the trailer for season 5. I chose not to, just because I know how trailers are, and I even remember messaging you, Drop. I was just like, hey, do they show a lot in this trailer? And I remember you coming back being like, yeah, they do. I'm just like, okay, so I am not watching the trailer, but you know, I don't mind hearing. Yeah. And I don't mind hearing like different things here and there that happen from the trailer.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned.
At least I didn't see it.
Yeah, like I saw it with Drop. Like, I just didn't lock in.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the Steven Dustin thing, because that's like kind of a given. You would think that he would be there. So
yeah, and I mean, with my rewatch currently, I mean, I only watched season 4 once, so a lot of this stuff during my rewatch, especially with season 4, is coming back to me. So, you know, I still have 2 episodes left on that rewatch. You know, things are still kind of spotty when it comes like to the end of the season, but I mean, I do think, you know, Will's definitely going to be a big part of it, because he did have, you know, that instance with the mind flayer. I know he was like part of that first 5 minutes. Well, yeah, that too. But like, I know in that first 5 minutes that they showed, spoiler alert for anybody who didn't watch those first 5 minutes, but the clips were going around on Twitter and all that. I did see that it was like, Vecna putting like, it was like a flashback to season 1 when Will was like put into the school, and he had that tentacle inside of him. Where Dark came from and all that. So apparently there was that part. There was the clip going around currently of 11 training.
Yeah,
which
training.
people have thoughts on that, which go ahead, have your thoughts. Like literally, there was one tweet I saw that was just like, let me count how many cuts.
The jump cuts, yes, the jump cuts in each one.
And I'm just like, okay, on one hand, I get it, because that's also a big criticism I have on action movies, like current action movies and all that. And I'm just like, okay, but now we're treating this like it's, Vince McMahon era WWE 2019. It's just like, do we need to count how many cuts there are? Do we have to be this nitpicky? Like, there's a part of me that gets it, I guess, but I don't know.
In that training sequence, I understand they have 31 jump cuts in, I think, like 35 seconds, so 30 seconds. Look, can you be mad about it? Yes, but can you be upset? You have to understand, how can you do not less jump cuts when you're trying to show her do the attack? Also, literally having a fight sequence from point A to point C, where she has to go from point A to point C. That means you gotta set up the cameras, hide the camera so the other cameras don't catch you, to do a one-shot scene. That's a lot kind of hard to do. So the clip itself still look good. It showed her the job of doing her training sequence, which I'm glad she's doing training sequence, because I love how Joyce and Hopper are literally 12 seconds, good job. No, or 12 minutes. And she said, I'm gonna run it back. I need to go faster. Which is like, how much faster do you want to go? And I'm like, in my head, she might probably want to go 8 minutes or something. But like, curious to see how much her powers level up, because I remember Papa and the other doctor was trying to get her an upgrade in her powers. So I'm really curious to see if she did it, or will she be getting upgrades slowly or momentarily in the aspect. So I'm curious about that. But like I said earlier, I watched the trailer with Drop. I saw the trailer. I didn't fully lock in every single detail, but I want to pass it to Drop, who saw the first 5 minutes and saw the trailers. Any thoughts you want to give, like overall, like the first 5 minutes? Any speculation? Any of your own theories?
So I had a feeling when it came to those first 5 minutes that was going to be something that we would get an answer to, because one of the ongoing theories for years now, especially once Vecna was introduced, it started becoming more apparent. So that's basically when this whole theory came to be, was who took Will to the Upside Down. And we obviously know that was the Demogorgon that probably took him to the Upside Down and gave him to Vecna. So now we know that there's a connection there. So it goes to show that Vecna was there ever since the very beginning when it came to everything that was going on, which made sense. Even when you were getting introduced to the character, you sort of had that hint in the back of your head that, this was going to be revealed soon. There was something there that he saw, because even when Nancy and all of them went to the Upside Down, they saw that it was just stuck in 1 year, which was 1983. So obviously there was like a lot of meaning behind that. So like when I first saw those first 5 minutes, it was basically just giving us the answer to that question. It wasn't anything like mind-blowing or anything, but it gave you a good idea of like where things are headed, and why things were set up the way they were because of that very reason. And I really liked it. I thought it was a good way to start off the season. I thought it was a good way to, really let us know like what's going to be in the rearview mirror when it comes to a lot of these questions that's going to be answered this season, because I don't want to theory craft and say much like, I want to know more about the Upside Down and all these other things, because they already said we are. So there's no reason to really say, I'm hoping we get more insight on the Upside Down and everything like that, because they've already said that. It's mainly things like maybe personal things that come up that I would want to see, but I felt like they did a good job with that, because it just makes you question, like, okay, exactly what else happened, like, before Joyce and Hopper found him.
Yeah, I think one thing that's got me worried is Lucas's Lucas's actor came out. Apparently, Lucas isn't in the series finale, he says, which is weird. And also, I think has a lot of people worried about Lucas in general in this final season.
No, I thought it was one of I thought it was one of those things, because I know when it comes to, like, production, they film things out of order, so I don't know if it's one of those things.
Yeah,
so maybe he gets thrown in there towards the end or something.
As somebody who works in production, 100% what Drop said, that sometimes their scenes are filmed out of order. Him saying that he was not in the series finale, I'm not sure if he meant in the like last episode on New Year's or in the last scene. If it's the last scene, I'm not too stressed about that. And also, when it comes to Lucas saying that, if anybody remembers, Andrew Garfield has lied 5 times in the month of December, November when it comes to Spider-Man No Way Home. And when people ask him, is he in the movie? He lied to the camera, to his family, to his own, I think, friend at the time to ask him, and he kept lying to everyone, saying no. So if any of these actors literally say, oh, they might not be the active and day, I don't trust them. Even myself working in the industry, I have literally, people have asked me what jobs I'm working. I have forgotten what jobs or what actors or what rappers I've met in my life. So at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you either forget that you were on that scene, or you honestly supposed to lie so people cannot, or you get told to say these things so the people that are doing the theory crafting content are making that content in theory crafting.
Yeah. It's just I saw that, I'm just like, I don't know how I'll feel if Lucas does, if out of any of the kids, Lucas is the one to bite the bullet. If any of the kids, and I'm just saying, you know, a big if, like, if any of the kids,
who's the kid that has to go? If we had to choose one out of the kids, who's the one that might have to go?
Will. It might be Will.
I agree.
He has a lot of trauma there, because here's the thing with Will, it was already going to be very hard for him to come back from the Upside Down, as we saw, like, during season 2, like the beginning of all that. Like, it was very difficult for him to come back and really kind of be normal after experiencing all of that. And then after that, to be taken over by the Mind Flayer. And then season 3, not much happened with him in season 3, just him just getting his spidey sense and all that. Season 4, it was kind of more personal for him, with, you know, kind of coming to terms with his sexuality, which, you know, during the 80s, kind of a hard time to really come out like that. Which I don't think he, like, really fully came out, if I remember correctly. Again, I haven't really gotten to that, to the van moment.
So at the moment, the only person that knows or understands is Jonathan. Like, he's the only one that kind of caught eye, but he's the only one that fully knows. And they had a conversation at the pizzeria that, hey, brother, let's talk.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, out of the kids, I mean, I'd rather it not be Lucas. I think he has a little bit more growth out of him. Dustin, I swear, if y'all do anything to Dustin, I'm gonna find you, Duffer Brothers, and do horrible, unspeakable things to you guys. Mike. If it's Mike, it's some sort of self-sacrificing thing, which, I mean, he's done in the past. You know,
he has done it in D&D as well.
That.
Yeah, he's done it also in the D&D session, you know, and he has spoke on it.
It could be that. And I mean, 11 is also up there too, like, kind of a thing where, like, her and Vecna kind of take themselves out, maybe. But I mean, that's all just speculation, though. Like, I don't want any of the kids to perish, but if we're gonna choose between any of them, I'm kind of leaning towards Will. I mean, it sucks for, you know, the Byers family, but I mean, I don't know. Like, out of all the kids, I could see it more being Will.
I'm on the same boat with that, Will. I will like a happy relationship for Lucas and Max, because at the end of season 4, Max literally all 4 joints of hers got knocked. She became blind. So like, what else can we want from this girl? Like, this girl cannot get deaf. And like, yo, I hope for the best of Max. And the same thing for Lucas. I want them to have a good relationship at the end. Mike and 11 as well, and Hopper and Joyce. Those are the 3 ships, if people want to put terms, are the things that I'm hoping for that succeeds. But for character that I think that will die is either Will, that's a possibility, and 11 I do see a possibility, because if you're gonna knock out or close the gate and you have to lose so much blood, or at the end of the day, like, well, at the end of the day, Upside Down has Enter Hawkins. If y'all don't know, at the end of season 4, literally you see a giant cloud in the center of town, and in season 5 it looks like a giant wall of cloud. Like, each season I've literally said this during a watch along. How the fuck are people surviving in Hawkins, and why are people still living in Hawkins? Literally every season I've said this. And now season 5, in the end of season 4, episode 8, I'm glad people was leaving Hawkins, because they said, you gotta get the fuck out of here. So Will and 11 are my 2 kind of choices. I don't see Murray dying. Hopper, he better not be touched as a close to death. Do not give him no red fucking flags. This man has been through it. He has almost chopped and broken his joints in both his ankles in prison. I don't need this man to go more through hell. This man, like, that's the reason why I don't want 11 to die, because he has adopted her as his own daughter. I don't want him to have a second daughter he has lost. In a good way, yes, in storytelling, and her saving the town and the people and everything, her closing this chapter that her father, Papa, kind of made the shit happen in this town. Her doing this, understandable. Doing a full circle, understandable. But Hopper losing another daughter is gonna hurt and break him. So it's like, that's tough. And imagine if he does become something with Joyce. That means he's adopting Will and fucking Jonathan. If Will dies, they're like, fuck. That's just like a lot of trauma within Joyce and Hopper. So like, it's hard to choose who to die, but it also depends on the story. So it's like so much more choices. But Drop, I know myself and Watkins gave some choices. What are yours?
So when it comes to me, I mean, I'll give my reasons as to characters I can see, and also ways that you can wrap up their stories without them dying. So when it comes to the characters I can see, I can definitely see Will being one of those characters. I can see 11 being one of those characters. I can honestly see Murray in a way as well, just because of the kind of character that he is. And so basically, getting to the explanation as how you can wrap up their story, like I said, I could see Will and 11 dying just because a lot of this revolves around them. But at the same time, Will's already been through so much. So I feel like a perfect way to wrap up his character is finally ending the suffering. And then when it comes to 11, like the whole thing that's going around that I even spoke on a video that I made several months ago is that, she opened the gate. So it makes sense if she went to hide the Upside Down and just maintained everything so it never happened again. So it's sort of like her life was there now, or hypothetically she were to use every last bit of her power, she could potentially die there. But also another way to really set things in stone for her character is just have her use every last bit of her power, so then after that her powers are gone permanently and she could just live her life as a normal girl. That's another way to really wrap up her character so she could live happily with Mike or whatever she decides to do beyond that point. I think Hopper's good. I don't think anything's going to happen to him because they already did it with season 3, so it kind of feel repetitive if they did something again. Same thing with Steve. I feel like Steve's fine because if you do something with Steve, it's kind of lazy writing because you literally just did that with Eddie in the previous season, so you really want to do that to Dustin again. It doesn't really make any sense because regardless however they write it, it's the exact same storyline that they're doing with Eddie, but now they want to do it with Steve. And I feel like with Steve, just like all these other characters, they need a good closure to them. He needs to have that dream that he wants, either if it's with Nancy or somebody else that he meets on the horizon. There's certain characters on here that definitely need to have like a proper conclusion when it comes to their character arcs. As I understand, it's in their characters to sacrifice themselves, and I'm pretty sure there are going to be some deaths that we get. I don't think it's going to be one of those things where we watch this and nobody dies. I definitely do feel that people are going to die. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike's dad dies. I wouldn't be surprised if Karen dies because, I mean, Vecna showed Nancy see that vision, and she said that, you know, her family was in a pretty rough spot. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Ted and Karen die. I wouldn't be, because you also have to like look at like what's motivating Mike, because I feel like Mike's gonna have a big leadership role in this season because he's known as Mike the Brave.
Right.
So you kind of have to expand on that. You got to give Mike some sort of motivation outside of Elle, because Mike hasn't really had any sort of interaction with Vecna. 11 has her own thing with Vecna that we know of, you know, same with other people as well when it comes to Nancy's interaction with him or anything. But it's like, if you do something to Mike, to Karen and Ted, you know, that pushes Mike and Nancy a little bit more when it comes to them, and it gets them more involved, because all Mike really knows about Vecna at this point is that, yeah, he's this bad dude, just like the Demogorgons and the Mind Flayer and the Demodogs and all that. But outside of that, he doesn't have anything that's like really pushing him. You take away Karen, you take away Ted, and even if something ends up happening to Holly, she like disappears, or, you know, something that happens with that, because you never know if Vecna's going to look at her and wanting to manipulate her because she's so young to put her in a rough spot. You need something like that thrown in there. But yeah, like Will and 11 could go either way. Murray, like I said, I could potentially see Robin, but that's like 25% chance only.
Please
because
don't. She's
yeah,
weird.
I hope not for Robin.
It's only,
You guys gonna
yeah,
get her
like
Tammy.
trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, she don't need Tammy Thompson,
She don't need Tammy.
the Miss Piggy
I'm
over
joking
here.
at her. The girl that she has the one that she actually has a crush on, the one from Band.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm pretty. Actually, I would worry more about her than Robin, if I'm being 100% honest with you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I don't know, Robin I feel like is more safe, but if you look at like Vecna likes tormenting his victims, that's a way he can get inside Robin's head if he does something with her.
Yeah, try to scare her, like I would take her out.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Trying to scare her to maybe help him a little bit.
Yeah, something like that.
So
Something like that for sure, but it definitely gonna be a big bloodbath. Like no soldiers or anything are surviving this. Like there's definitely gonna be a big bloodbath. And then you guys obviously saw Will's drawing with the dragon. That there's gonna be like a demo dragon coming to the picture.
So that's what I was gonna bring.
Oh, please give me the dragon.
I want to have two more conversations about theories before we end our show. So one,
Yeah,
Vecna. Vecna's the big bad. I have him on my beautiful left side, just staring at me beautifully with those type of demonic eyes. He is number one, aka he is Henry Creel, and he's also Vecna. We have a trifecta of identities here, with him being the villain, and we also have a new design from him. From what I saw in the trailer, he has probably an upgraded design, but it's confirmed that if you don't see the body, means he's alive, because we thought in season 4 episode 8 we threw him off the house, came back from the attic to the first floor, he was not there. This man still survived. He probably walked away. So it shows this man had been hibernating and planning, and that's the worst type of villain. When a villain has a vendetta of revenge, he's gonna make the revenge times 5, times 10. He'd be like, oh, you fucked me up in my world domination, I'm gonna fuck you up times 5 because you stopped my plans. So Hawkins is gonna be more destroyed. I'm really curious to see how the fuck this town is gonna survive this. And the government is stupid as hell to think still 11 has something to do with this in a bad way. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all kind of stemmed from 11. Well, no, it stemmed from Vecna, but at the same time. But, like, yeah. Nah, it's just a whole big snowball effect. Like, how could these psychics do this?
Like, I'm curious to see how Vecna is connected to the Upside Down. I'm curious to see how we saw the introduction of the Upside Down when Vecna got transported there. We saw like all these dark clouds, him entering this universe, the lightning attacking him becoming the design of Vecna, but then him meeting the Mind Flyer. So it's to the questions kind of differs, that is Vecna the one controlling the Mind Flyer, or is the Mind Flyer controlling Vecna? Who is the general and who's the one that is commanding? It's gonna be curious to see how this turns around in season 5, because we have a lot of questions to know. Okay, Vecna's here, he looked good, he's destroying, doing his thing, but then Will came back to town and he's like, I still have my Spidey sense. That means he's out there. But the Mind Flyer was the big bad that already existed in this universe. So are we gonna see a combination? Is the Mind Flyer gonna have like a different form, a human form? So it's gonna be interesting in aspect. Like, you guys have any comments about the Upside Down? What is it that you want to see out of the Upside Down? Because my questions, like I mentioned, who's the commander? Who's the general? Between the two, what is the Mind Flyer end goal in this universe? The way that he was just big, old, big and giant, and Vecna, coming here, finding out this universe all on its own.
Oh yeah, Dimension X.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I could, because I'm looking at how they're structuring the release of this final season. It could be a thing where, like, because we got, so correct me if I'm wrong, the trailer we got for it was mainly for this first part that's coming out, correct?
Yes. Actually,
Okay.
It doesn't say exactly. It just says with the season 5,
Okay.
right? From what you showed me, right? Because you sent me the link, so I don't remember the top of my head. But what is it?
I actually remember it. The Duffer Brothers actually said that trailer itself shows the entire season. It just bits and pieces, like the clips that they
Okay, so
put together.
fragments of everything mushed into one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I bring up like the release schedule, I could see it being a thing where maybe they get rid of Vecna during this first part, and the second part has to deal with more with like, okay, now we got to take care of the Mind Flayer, because like, yeah, Vecna was always kind of built up as like the general, kind of like what you were saying. Oh, he's the general of the Mind Flayer, and again, like, it could always twist to where it's just like, okay, we take care of the Mind Flayer before Vecna, because it turns out, oh, Vecna actually controls the Mind Flayer now. Like, so it could be interchangeable either way. Either the Mind Flayer or Vecna is going to be dealt with during this first part. The second part is going to deal with the other one, so either the Vecna or the Mind Flayer. And hopefully that last episode, I like the idea of the Demo Dragon, just because of all the references to Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, and I'm just like, all right, come on, you gotta give us the dragon, man. Like, you give us the Mind Flayer, you give us the Demogorgon. Like,
dude, I have a bad feeling that like you're gonna get some brutal death with that thing.
Oh, we have
like,
to.
My god, yes.
Like, you're not gonna have that thing show up and not have like any like major casualties. Like, imagine, like, not saying like Steve's gonna die there, but imagine Steve standing up to that thing. Imagine how much ore he's gonna get in that scene,
bro.
Oh god, that's where he gets his crown. That's where he gets.
There's gonna be a lot of. There's actually gonna be a lot of ore. There was a lot of ore farming with Steve and Hopper in those trailers. I will say that.
Oh, okay, good. As there should be.
I'm curious to know
watch
if the new
Steve
cast
be the
members,
one that beats the Demo Dragon.
I'm curious to see if the new cast members will die as well, because we did see a new kid, a little short kid.
The fat kid?
Yeah, the fat kid, yeah. I don't want to put in that terminology, but yes, him.
I will say it's the 80s, damn it.
Yes, it's the 80s. That's true, when bullies was allowed. He got cast and everything. He's with Mike, it seems like, by the shelter and staring a lot in the trailer. So it looks like he will be around with Mike with his little crew there. Curious to see how is that going to go. I wonder if the new kid will die, because I'm sure everyone is gonna know all the secrets of Hawkins. Like, bro, you can't hide 11 no more. The government has to find out. Like, yo, we're helping you guys. Stop letting us or treating us as your enemies. We gotta work together. And we also have like a new agent lady. It seems like in the trailer as well. Some lady being there as a replacement for Papa and the other old dude. I'm not sure if the old dude is alive, because the last time we saw him was a handcuff in the underground prison or the underground type of bunker. So I don't know if he's gonna come back or probably make an appearance. But with that, anybody has more thoughts about Vecna and where this could go? If not, we could move on to the last question.
I mean, obviously he's gonna die. Just get that out of the way. That's why I didn't bring him up during predictions. I feel like that's a given. The villain always dies. Yeah, he has to, like, sure. I didn't really want to bring that up. There's a part of me, I feel like him and the Mind Flayer actually might be like probably I could see them lasting until like the very last episode, really, because they got a good chunk of time there. So plus, I mean, you got the dragon involved now, so you can only imagine like well, we don't know, but it's kind of like obvious it's gonna happen. But yeah, man, they did say this season's going to be pretty brutal. Like, it's going to be very gory. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had like a TVMA rating for like. I
think so, yeah.
For how graphic it's going to be.
Which I'm not too sure. Makes sense what happened to, our boy Eddie getting eaten alive by the 25,000 bats that was there.
Yeah.
Talking about Eddie, y'all think he will somehow make a return or be controlled? That was a theory I saw on the timeline, so I want to put it out there and ask the question. Y'all think Eddie will come back alive? My answer to my own question,
timeline's silly for that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I think he's dead, and if that were to happen, I actually would not like that at all, because I feel like that would be very fairy tale if they did something like that, because the whole point of his death was to obviously die as a hero in Hawkins, and him coming back kind of hurts that, because it's like, okay, why are you having all this set up with Dustin? Why you have him traumatized, and then for him to come back with open arms again? I don't know. It just wouldn't feel right, because we don't like seeing our favorite characters die, but obviously it's meant to happen for a reason, to really progress the story more. And I'm not the biggest fan of those kind of things. And I feel like with Eddie coming back, it would definitely hurt the writing of that season if I were to see that. I'm not a fan of that. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think he's dead.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, if he does come back, it would be because Vecna's fucking with Dustin.
Or like a flashback moment, or like a parents in the head moment.
You know what it would be? It would be a similar thing to Max and her mom. If like Dustin was taken over, and let's say, like you saw with Max and her mom, Max thought she was talking to her mom, but it was actually Vecna like hugging her tight, something like that. It could be easily be one of those mind tricks of Vecna if you would get something with them.
Or how like Nancy's been tormented by Barb's body, which apparently Barb's body's coming back. So there's that little caveat.
Because she was at the premiere, and also I saw a random theory that almost all the cast members was wearing black, except for the few cast members in most of the premiere, like Nancy and a few others was wearing like actually colorful dresses, and the other cast members was wearing all black. And I'm like, all right, trying too much to theorize this. There's no way they're gonna everyone, Mike, Will, and everyone that's wearing black is gonna die, and then the people that's colorful are gonna be the only ones alive. There is too much there. Like, there's no way they're gonna tell us just by
Future Vash cut to the end of the series when all these characters are dead, and it's just like, oh my god, they were actually right. They were actually teasing us. Nah, but
there's like a certain saying, like people like I forgot what the saying is. With like that kind of like theory crafting that people do, but it's like that's just really weird. It's like, oh, just because you wear a certain pair of underwear one day, that means you're gonna like trip. Like, okay,
look, my lucky pair of underwear gets me through things. It gets me through some stuff, man.
My last question: let us see if it get us through things. Do you think Max will be walking? Do you think Max will get her sights back? What do you think will be Mike's character end for her? Because right now she's in the hospital bed, still in a coma. Do you think anything for her character? Is there anything that right now have you speculated for Max's character? Is she getting her sights back? Is she able to move her legs, her arms, her joints? Any thoughts?
I hope so.
That's like a positive answer. You hope so. How about you, Drop?
Hope so. I hope she wakes up.
Like I feel like she will wake up, but I still want there to be consequences, because I'm really big on consequences when it comes to stories. Like, I'm not saying that she needs to die, because pretty much the state that she's in, she's pretty much dead already. So if they decided to kill her off in the 4th season, or if she's in a coma and then 11 went in there and she didn't really find it conscious, she's pretty much like in the same state that she was. I'm just hoping that, she's still able to live her life some way. Like, it's like we spoke about. It's like you could, easily live a life, and you could be blind, and you could use, whatever people around you to help you through certain things. I'm just hoping whatever they do makes sense. I don't want it to be one of those things where it's like Vecna's defeated, the Mind Flayer's gone, and then everybody comes back, because I would not like that, and all consequences are removed. I imagine it ended like that, where it's like everybody came back, Barb came back, Bob came back. I would not like that. There needs to be stakes here that makes a lot of sense, because whatever happened with Bob pushed Joyce. Whatever happened with Barb, pushed Nancy and brought her to a really messed up state when it comes to how she feels about herself for what she did. So do I want the best for Max? Sure. Do I want her and Lucas to eventually go on that movie date? Sure. But it just depends how they get there. I'm hoping what they do with Max makes sense, and it could help us understand why they made the decision that they did.
I agree.
Agreed.
I agree. So with that, let's transition to our outro and last thoughts, our closing remarks of what we have given to our first Stranger Things series discussion of this episode of Weebs Lounge, episode 201. So we appreciate everyone on the TikTok live studio checking us out. Hopefully you guys have been entertained, watching, chiming in, checking us out. If that for the podcast, for the audio listeners, for the video listeners, thank you for guys. Put down in the comment section your thoughts about Stranger Things. What you guys are excited for to see season 5. What's your favorite mode? Who's your favorite character as well? Chime down below in the comment section on the YouTube. And if you're here in the TikTok studio, we appreciate and let us know your guys' thoughts as well. But I want to ask you guys, right before we segue out, is there any one thing that you feel like that will complete your love for season 5 by the end? It just has to be one thing right now. It doesn't have to be for me, for example. I would love to see Steve and Nancy get a complete happy ending. That's what I would love to see. A Steve having his 6 kids that he wants in an RV. I would love for him to get his happiness. That's my hope for him. And 2, I'm gonna just add a caveat, a random theory that somehow in this series finale there will be some type of time travel. The reason I say this is because of Back to the Future movie that they snuck in to see. It was in the poster, and I feel like you will not add that for no reason and no movie to be shown. Back to the Future, I feel like will be a reference some way or another. Not say a time travel car, but some way or somehow time travel will be involved. And if I'm wrong, I'm okay with it. That's why I want to add it at the end, because I feel like I may be alone in this, and it's okay. Marcus, I'm gonna pass it to you. What's that one thing that will make you happy for the series to end in a happy note for you to be with? And is there any last thing that you would like to add a remark, any random theory that you have alone, or anything that you saw on the timeline that was like, wait, this is stupid?
I think the only thing I really want for the end of the series, I just want Hopper to stay alive.
That's a good choice.
I just want him. I want him to have his happy ending, because he's gone through a lot, and I mean a lot in this show, and he deserves to have just one more chance at legit happiness in life. Now, whether that comes from, even though with the added asterisk of, Eleven's gone now, whether she died or, like Drop said, she's holding the Upside Down in control and all that.
Went to college.
I just want Hopper to be happy, or to college, that's fine too. But I just want Hopper to be happy, and I want Joyce to actually give him his chance. The chance that Tsunade didn't give Jiraiya. Give him that chance. Yeah, exactly. See, Jiraiya is the blueprint for a lot of the characters that I like. Trust me on this. So that's really all I want. I just want Hop to have a happy ending. That's all I want. I'll be satisfied then. It'll be 5 out of 5 if that happens.
And how about you, Drop? What is it that makes you feel this, this conclusion of the series that you put me up, that you love and enjoy? King Steve and everything. What's the one thing? Is it like me that wants the Steve and Nancy get the happy ending and 6 kids in an RV? Or is it like Hopper just being alive, just being happy with the woman he cares for from high school and smoking a cigarette?
I mean, I think it's obvious what I want. I mean, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth, Vash. I want the best for Steve. I want him to get together with someone that appreciates him. And if they are indeed building back to him and Nancy, because there actually is a path to that with what we saw with the previous season, which some people are mixed on, but I understood why they did what they did, because it's like a full circle sort of thing when it comes to how immature they were in the past and now they're more mature, and there's actually some growth there between both characters. So I just want the best between him and her, and also hoping, you know, maybe Steve could drive Dustin to his first day at college. Like, that's something I would absolutely love to see towards the end of the last episode, where it's like, you know, Nancy and Steve are back together. Maybe they have like one baby on the way. Not saying all of them are going to be there, but at least let's say maybe one, just getting like the building grounds of that. And then you could also have Steve bringing Dustin to like his first day of college, you know, something like that. And just seeing Steve being the big brother figure that he is to Dustin, helping him through his, you know, trauma this season, and just getting a really good closure for his character. Because, you know, just like Watkins, when it comes to, you know, Hopper, obviously I agree with everything Watkins said about Hopper too, but Steve's also one of my favorite characters in like any type of media as well, just because of the significant growth that he has and what he means to me as a person.
I do agree with that. Those are beautifully well said words for the characters of King Steve and Hopper, the chief of Watkins. Hopefully he got his job back right now, or hopefully the other deputy said, yo, I don't want this job no more. It's just too stressful.
Man,
I'm tired of arguing with his parents saying, yo,
get him out of the office.
Hopper, you get your job back. I'm good. I'm retired. But, Jack, this was episode 201. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Weebs Lounge rendition of Stranger Things season 1 through 4 discussion, and season 5 theories and speculation. Where could the series go next? So it's pretty exciting for us to, you know, discuss for the first time. The next coverage of Stranger Things will be a volume 1 coverage, so stay tuned for that for on the week of November 26th, on that week when we drop the coverage for maybe a single each episode or a full coverage. Let us know down in the comment section what you guys prefer, or well, what or that. Other than that, don't forget plugs, the outro, that if you guys like the content that we're making, go check out Off the Binge, go check out Weebs of the Ring as well, our pro wrestling content. And if you want more of the manga content, stay tuned, because, you know, maybe Sundays are returning for manga streams on the Vault channel. January content, Shonen Ronin. We also have Drop This Box posting on a daily content, a weekly, so go check that out on his personal channel. And as well, maybe some dispatch from Watkins MW, some VODs. You may be seeing some things dropping this week. Stay tuned on that. So other than that, content, all the links are down below of where to find us, our Discord community, our socials, and the links that I mentioned, our Twitch, our YouTube. Drop This Box, everything is down below of where you can find us. So without further ado, thank you for joining us tonight and taking time to listen in. The Weebs Lounge is presented by AniMa W3 Studio, our production team, Vash and Watkins, and our producer. Special thanks. And don't forget to follow the socials of the brand and the team. All the links are down below in the description. Lastly, share and like, and most importantly, give feedback and let us know on the thought of the episode, you guys, or what makes the show, and help us succeed. On behalf of everyone at AniMa W3 Studio, we thank you for joining us in the Weebs Lounge podcast. We see you later. Take care, and see you next week for our Thanksgiving special and thoughts. See you in the next one, and gobble, gobble, gobble.
Peace out.